What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode and live stream of Let's Get Nuts here on Sunday at the Ben Thomas Show. Thanks for coming back, guys. We have a pretty big panel today. We've got some people I've never had on the show before, so I'm very excited to introduce you to him. We're going to talk some entertainment news, some movie news. Of course, we're going to talk figure news. I want to talk about Keanu Reeves as well, because he's popping up in a couple things, and I'm kind of excited about that. So, guys, of course, we're going to get warmed up today. But stick around. If you like the show, hit the like button, smash the subscribe if you're new to the Ben Thomas Show, and of course, let's get nuts.
What are you doing? You're completely outnumbered here. Are you nuts? You want to get 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 nuts? Come on, let's get nuts. Let's get nuts. Let's get nuts. Let's get nuts. Let's get nuts.
Getting nutty today. I am so excited to have the panel with me that I do, because we got lots of interesting topics to talk about. We're going to see some people slowly rolling in. We took last week off. I apologize. Some scheduling conflicts and all of the things. So guys, if you're here with us today, thank you so much for being here. Let's class up the joint first. Let's get him out here. Mr. Classy Thomas, SpongeBob SquareBalls. Good to see you, buddy. How you doing?
Good to see you too. Good to see you too. What's going on?
Good, man. Thanks for missing last week. I know you had some things lined up for me. I actually added that to this week's show sheet, just so you're aware. So not to get you on the spot, but I did throw it in the slides. So stay tuned for something special that Classy wants to share with us from a few weeks ago. But I'm happy that you're back. I know you said you're always, I think you said my Vince McMahon, the wrestling reference to a guy who's always here for me, and that's how you are.
Let's get ready to rumble.
Let's get ready to rumble. Love to see it. Thanks for being back, buddy. Definitely appreciate you here. Our next panelist, you may know him as Philly. Some of you may know him as Figurecraft. I know him now as one of the coolest collections I've seen on YouTube in quite some time. We got Philly from Figurecraft here with us again. Good to see you, buddy. Thanks for coming back.
Thanks for having me, buddy. How are we doing today? It's good to see you. Good to see Classy, as always. And again, I am very appreciative. I'm happy to start with you and looking forward to it.
Heck yeah, man. It's really good to have you back. I was so jealous because I saw on Facebook you've had some collectors popping by, visiting with you a little bit. Calvin, I know, being one of them. And, you know, it's always cool when you get to meet these guys in person, because when you see everybody online all the time, you're like, are you know, these folks really like this? And then when you get a chance to give them a hug and walk them through your collection room, like, that's my experience with Dean the Dream Martin. Dean was like my YouTube, like, man, I love seeing this guy on panels every week. I've now been able to give the man a hug, which is one of the craziest things in my life. So, but Philly, I'm happy to have you here, and I'm jealous that I didn't get to come and visit your collection.
Just know for a fact that anytime you come down in my area, you'll be the first stop. I'll be the first stop for you to come over here. No exceptions, yeah, okay, Ben?
Hell yeah! Canada's a bit of a drive, but I'll do my best. So, but no, great to have you back. Now, awesome. Philly, you gave me a recommendation on somebody that we should bring on the show today, because you said, you know, this person's been a friend of yours for quite some time. He's got quite a collection himself. Here on Let's Get Nuts, I mean, the whole point of the show is to have fun on a Sunday, guys. Hang out with you, laugh, talk some cool collectibles, and honestly meet some new people, some new faces in the community. So let's bring out Luis from Pop Culture Relics over on YouTube. Luis, first time here getting nuts with us. Welcome to the show, buddy. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, Ben. Thank you for having me. Appreciate the kind words there. Philly and I do go way back, and it's nice to be able to expand into the community. More so just me as a collector, just kind of feeling on my own, and now seeing it obviously where it is now. It's always great to meet new people and share the common interests. So appreciate you having me on here, and, you know, love to get nuts together, right?
Yeah,
if I was going to bring you in with anybody, Luis, it would be definitely Ben. Ben is the coolest cat on YouTube right now, and he is very mellow too. So
you guys can't see how much I'm blushing because of the purple light, so don't worry about it, okay?
I believe it, man.
Well, I was a little nervous because when I brought you guys into the backstage today, I saw the collections sitting behind you guys, and I'm like, holy crap, that is a collection. Luis, you got to tell us a little bit more about that bustin behind you, and just tell us kind of briefly, like, how'd you get started in collecting? How long have you been collecting for? And what would you say is your one piece in the collection that you could never part with?
Ooh, great questions. So I got into collecting really back in '99 with the Phantom Menace launch of the Hasbro 3 3/4 inch figures. I was 13 at the time, and always remembered, growing up, these vintage figures fetching a pretty penny. I'm like, you know what? Maybe they'll be worth something one day. So that's what caused the collection itch, really. Since then, it's been graduating from Hasbro to my first Comic Con in '06, and I saw what Sideshow was doing. I was impressed by these 12-inch figures that were insane compared to the Hasbro ones. And my first high-end Star Wars piece was really the Sideshow Anakin, and that was what got me into 1/6. And I always wanted a master replicas, but at the time those were hundreds of dollars for these replica lightsaber hilts. Then I settled for the Force Effects ones, and then my girlfriend at the time, who's now my wife, she actually bought me my first legit master replicas. It's a Darth Maul signature edition hilt, and it's top there somewhere. But it was just kind of going from these 3 3/4 inch to 1/6 to 1/1, and now it's just sprinkled into all the different scales. So the bust behind me with Iron Man, this is by Queen Studios. It's the Mark III bust. I think the Mark III, being a classic armor, is still the OG for me, of course. But I've got my little Iron Man kind of shrine over there. So he's my favorite Marvel hero. After him, I'd say Spider-Man. But it's just been growing over the years. But Star Wars being my main focus, as you can see, I've got just kind of a little bit of every era, with original trilogy, of course, still being my favorite. But oh man, I've got so many pieces that if my home were to burn down, right, what's the one?
Yeah. What would you rescue?
So I recently got my Grail, and prior to this recent Grail, it was this Falcon right here. So this is
hell yeah. I'm gonna put you on big screen here, buddy. Just go inside.
Sure. Thank you. So this is my Master Replicas Millennium Falcon.
Damn.
And this is based on Empire Strikes Back. It's signature edition. So the plaque right there has got Harrison Ford's autograph. Kind of one of my grails, and really was my true grail. But up until 2 months ago, I recently got so that bright kind of orange bar, that's from Prop Store.
Oh, really?
And
Okay,
that's a prop store. They call it a Darth Maul component hilt. So it's what I think is what they used based off of the prototype Darth Maul hilt. Not a lot of people know that when they first made his hilt, they pretty much got one hilt and then cut it in half and doubled it. But the problem was the grip was too tight that Ray Park was like, I can't work with this, with what you want me to do. So he recommended, or somebody did, recommended adding a whole nother middle section. And that's how we get his, double hilt.
That's cool.
Yeah. So just kind of doing a little bit of research on my own. I think that it was one of the maybe earlier prototypes that he used to fight. So it's not technically screen used. I don't know if I'll ever be able to afford a screen used lightsaber with what they're going for, but
yeah,
I mean, it's the next best thing for me. So that, I would say, is the number one piece that, if anything happened, that's the first that I'm taking.
Dude,
then I'll somehow get the Falcon in there too.
Hell yeah, dude. Beautiful setup, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Just absolutely beautiful setup. And I know, like, the chat in here is they're going nuts if this is the first time they've seen it.
Oh, thank you guys.
Make sure you guys, after the show, subscribe to Pop Culture Relics YouTube channel. He's just getting started. At one point, I was in the same boat, getting invited on streams, just getting started, not knowing who to chat with, and how to even talk collectibles online and everything. Clearly you got way more experience with collecting than I even did, and I've been collecting for about 10 years myself. So really good. It's always good to see those new personalities pop up and have
Thank
some
you.
fun with us. So dude, thanks so much for being here with us, and I know I put you on the spot with that a little bit.
No, you're good. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Anytime I can show off my mall shrine and the collection, like we all do, right? We do
Of
it for
course.
ourselves, and we're showing off to ourselves, but anytime we can have a little bit of extra appreciation from the, whether it's super fans or casuals, like that's what it's all about.
That's always my favorite, when you bring in a non-collector into your collecting room and like see what they just gravitate to. For some reason lately, whenever I've done that, they've gravitated to my Nightmare Batman figure, which I'm like, it's a great figure, but it's definitely not my favorite. I'm surprised it draws the eye as much as it does. But we
My
got
wife
another.
loves that version.
Oh yeah, hell yeah! I think it's the jacket. I think they gravitate to the jacket.
Yeah,
Right? So
for
we got
sure.
another panelist with us here in the back. Of course, it's our British correspondent from over the oceans, at least for me, Mr. Pete from Only Fools in Collecting, a division of Collecting Weekly. Good to see you, buddy. How's it going?
Evening all. You right?
Yeah, good man. Good to see you here. How's your collection room moving around situation going for you?
Pretty good, although I found some damp in the corner, so I've got
shit.
to yeah, it's not. I think it's historical damp, so I just need to change, replace a couple of rafters and some floorboards. But yeah, I think it's sorted now. But it's a little, you find these little issues when you're doing a bit of DIY. But yeah, it shouldn't put it back too far.
Absolutely. But we got a big show today with us. I didn't know if you've had a chance to watch Luis from Pop Culture Relics. Pete, Luis, Pete.
Hello.
You are introduced.
Nice to meet you.
Mr. Pete.
If you haven't had a
Luis,
chance.
By the way, Luis, you just got a new subscriber.
Hey,
Oh,
there you
thank
go.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Classy
I've
subscribed
yet
to this
do-
burner account.
Awesome. I've yet to do a showroom tour, but
Please do.
I
wanna
told
see
Philly, I'm like,
that.
hey, you know what? Thank you. I finally kind of got the pieces that I was anticipating, so it's definitely coming. I'd say probably the next week, and I may even have Philly film it for me with how
Nice.
amazing his turned out. So
Wow.
yeah, it's definitely coming soon. Thank you.
Sometimes
Yeah.
catching that much views on YouTube is like catching lightning in a bottle a little bit. Like, some of my videos that I've taken the most time on are like some of my least viewed videos, and then the ones that it's like, you do a short for 10 seconds in the morning in your pajamas and it goes like crazy viral. But like clearly Philly put the work into his collection tour, so I'm glad people actually watched
Yeah.
it. As
Oh,
awesome.
Mario is having me over next week. He convinced me to come over and actually he bribed me with a barbecue, but I'm gonna film his future video tour. So hopefully see that coming out soon.
It's amazing what most of us would do
Yeah, it's
for
exciting.
a little bit of free barbecue, that's for sure. Guys, let's get warmed up because we got lots to talk about today. Of course, here on Let's Get Nuts, the warm-ups can be fun. Sometimes they're a little silly. This one is a little on the silly side because we've been talking lots about popcorn buckets lately, and I recently saw a really cool Ghostbusters popcorn bucket. Obviously, there was that Dune popcorn bucket that created a little bit of controversy and a little bit of excitement in the theater, I'm sure. And now Kevin Feige has come out from Marvel and said that Deadpool 3 will have his own popcorn bucket, and Deadpool himself is going to be the one that gets to kind of design it and create it. So I found some of these two pictures online. Neither of these are actually verified if these are going to be the popcorn buckets, just for the record. But, Classy Thomas, if you were Deadpool and you were going to create a popcorn bucket, what would that look like?
All right, that's a good question.
I go to Classy first because we need the classiest answers first.
Well, see
clearly.
that's just it. When it comes to Deadpool, I don't know how classy I can really be. So,
Let us know in the chat, guys. What do you guys think?
I am perplexed now because I'm telling you, I want that one with the open mouth and the squinted eyes. I want that one so bad to be real because I want it. But I guess one thing you could do is that if you remember from the first movie when he was having that shootout on the bridge, how he got shot in the hindquarters. and had that little hole, coming out. They could have a section of his butt with a little area down there for you to reach into and get your popcorn out. That would be very Deadpoolish.
That would
for him
be
to poop popcorn.
That would be. I was thinking butt as well for some reason. Some kind of like you have to reach in, like your whole fist can go in there, something along those lines. But Billy, to get silly, what do you think?
There's a new picture that is exactly what you're explaining. I think it's. I don't know.
Is
if
it?
It's, yeah, I don't know if it's
like
Photoshop
like a rump from
There's one. It's like a dual side, and I think the back has a flap and his butt exposes, and you can. I don't know what's going on there. But
That could be so bad.
I'll leave you to the imagination. But for me, it would be probably like a little Deadpool sitting in a chair, hugging the popcorn bucket and a hole on the bottom, so you can dig in right down there. I guess.
Yeah,
I mean, that's classic Deadpool right there. So
classic. I love that idea. That's hilarious. That's awesome. Luis, do you collect popcorn buckets, and would you get a naughty or nice Deadpool bucket? What would you think the design could look like for you?
Yes. So yes and yes. I actually have a few popcorn buckets. I'm a huge Disney fan, if you can't tell from my collection. I have the Millennium Falcon popcorn bucket. So I would definitely get a Deadpool popcorn bucket. I was thinking of the first thing as what you and Classy mentioned is somehow, not sure if I ever say this until now, have an orifice exposed. Yeah, have an orifice exposed and just, get in there, fist and all. I was even thinking maybe somehow they could get Wolverine's kind of ear blade, we'll call it, and either make it upside down or have some type of penetration, but I'm sure they could have some type of interlocking thing.
Yeah, Luis is like, what did I get myself into today? Oh my goodness.
You guys asked for it.
I only put it in the show sheet, popcorn bucket. No specificity at all. Pete, I know you've got a collection of popcorn buckets behind you literally right now. What Deadpool bucket would you want to see in your collection?
I don't have it. No, I don't own any popcorn buckets. I think it's I think we do have them in the UK, but it's I don't know. It seems sort of, more of a US Canadian thing. Like if you collect them and stuff like that, and people go out to get them. So I don't think I've ever actually owned one. Apparently, there's one coming for Romulus, Alien Romulus, like an alien head.
Oh, yeah.
So that would be interesting to see that.
Cool.
I mean, obviously that would be pretty cool. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe something to do with the little tiny Deadpool when he had to grow his body back from the first one.
Get a little hand or something.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I could see it. I could see it.
But yeah, I mean, judging by the recent spate of stuff and the inappropriateness of the Dune one, I think that they'll definitely come up with something to shock.
I'm sure they have to. They have to. Yeah.
Interesting to see. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's funny. Thanks for getting me warmed up, guys. I appreciate it. Definitely helps me loosen up for the show. We have 31 people already here watching live with us. Thanks so much for getting nuts with us here on Sunday.
Well, somebody else would be really loose, Ben, if they made our bucket, wouldn't they?
Oh,
I think Deadpool would get real loosened up.
Ooh.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. Yeah, I need to vet these questions better before the show, guys. I apologize in advance. Guys, another piece of comic book entertainment before we say hello to everybody in the chat. There was an official look at the Hugh Jackman in full Wolverine suit revealed about 2 weeks ago now. Now, we did miss last week. I did want to talk about this a week ago. Unfortunately, it's a little bit older of news now, but I did want to get your take on it because this is actually kind of the first look at the cowl. We've seen those teaser images of Hugh walking around with Deadpool in costume, but we were all kind of wondering what the cowl might look like on him. To be honest, I kind of think this is pretty cool. It's a little bulbous, but I like that they're doing the whiteout eyes. If that's actually the case for the costume, I think that looks really, really cool. And it gets my juices flowing because I did cancel my Hono Wolverine begrudgingly. My pre-orders were stacking up a little bit. I canceled the Hono because I'm contemplating and kind of anticipating this figure if and when Hot Toys eventually decides to make it. So I'm happy with the look of this cowl, but Luis, I'll go to you first, good sir. What are your thoughts on kind of this tease revealed through both a cup, which is a bit of a strange way to see it, but also of the look for Wolverine itself?
You know, I was avoiding spoilers at all costs.
I'm sorry.
Totally ruined it. No, I'm just kidding. No, it's no, I love it. I can see the bulbous. You know, of course, we all, at least me, I'm used to the '92, the X-Men style designs. So that will forever be my favorite version of it. But I'm all for it. I did keep the Hono. I see that more as a maybe posable figure. I'm sure Hot Toys will make some amazing fabrics for this, but me being a kind of museum poser, I'd be afraid to go extreme posing. But I love it. I'm all for it and would love to have this. I have the X-Men Days of Future Past one and the new 73 one from the same film. So this will kind of complete my trifecta of Wolverines. But yeah, I'm on board for sure. It's a great design.
Oh, yeah.
Hey Luis, just like Dirk Diggler's stunt double says, just pretend they're two Batman kissing, not really Wolverine.
Yeah.
So just pretend it's two Batman
Perfect.
kissing. There you go.
Absolutely, yeah. The profile.
Well, Batman the Animated Series is one of my favorite shows of all time, and it's definitely the Batman Animated Series cowl that's doing it too.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Philly,
yeah,
what are your thoughts, Philly, on kind of the look of the cowl here? If this is, ultimately super legitimate, it'll be interesting to see. And is this one you're going to plan to collect for your huge collection at this point?
Well, I don't know if you know, Ben, but just about an hour ago, Ryan Reynolds posted a trailer coming tomorrow. So who knows? We might see something tomorrow.
Ooh, nice.
But based on how they're teasing us, most likely not. But yeah, it does look a little bulbous around the head. I have my preference. I mean, I like the short ears and the long ears, kind of like the same thing with Batman. It's you have your preference. Like I like even the classic one. Did you see that animated movie where you had Wolverine versus the Hulk? He had the classic short ears. Those look kind of cool. But then again, I do like the Jim Lee version of Wolverine, which are a little bit more longer.
Really big, yeah.
I think this is something in between. But knowing the fact that it's a Deadpool movie, he's going to come with the white eyes for sure, because Deadpool obviously has the white eyes as well. And I like the little stubble there. It looks good. I like it. I'm excited.
I'm excited to see and learn how Deadpool actually convinces Hugh Jackman, Wolverine himself, to put this costume even on in the first place, right? I'll be curious to see how that unfolds itself. For sure. Pete, one last question for you. Is this a Wolverine that you would put in your collection, being a Hugh Jackman fan at the very least? Is this kind of the definitive suit for your collection? Do you have other Wolverine suits that you like better? What are your thoughts?
I'm not sure. I think I'll the jury's out. I'll wait and see. I think I like the Days of Future Past one. I think that was the kind of the sort of tactical kind of outfit. I like that one. This one looks a little bit comical in a way, because I think, as you say, it'd be interesting to see if there's some comedy involved with Deadpool getting him to wear this or what have you. So I'm not 100% convinced as to how it will kind of come across on screen. So and I don't really collect superheroes anymore, so I definitely won't be picking it up, but I'll be interested to see. I didn't expect to see Hugh Jackman play him again, so I think he's going to have a lot of fun with this one.
It broke my heart at the end of Logan when I felt like that was the last time we were going to actually see him as Wolverine. So, but then I went back and rewatched the X-Men trilogy recently, like the Fox X-Men trilogy, and I forgot how young he was in those movies. Yeah. Wow, again, makes me feel kind of old, but good on him for sure. I think it's always been kind of funny that And I mean, I don't know as much about the comics, so you guys might laugh at me for my lack of knowledge here, but I always thought like the Old Man Logan comic was kind of a funny concept, only because, you know, I've always known Wolverine to be the one that's not supposed to age, right? But of course, as a human being, we can't not age. So when you look at Wolverine in that first X-Men movie versus now, it's like he's clearly a much, much older person. But now he resembles that Old Man Logan, right? So,
Well, Ben,
which I did
just
love about
put
Logan.
in the I just sent to your messenger 2 photos. The second one is his original appearance, I think, from when he fought the Hulk. And as you can see, those 2 helmets are very, very similar.
I see.
Bulbous.
Are very similar to the design that they came up with. So
I see that.
Yeah, I'm
see if I can-
really, really pleased about that. And I'll tell you what, see, for me, this was going to be a deal breaker. I said, listen, if you're going to do Wolverine in the MCU, he has to have a cowl. I said, you know, I understand people want to see his face, but, you know, we all know what Hugh Jackman looks like. If you're going to do him as a superhero the way he properly should be done, give me a cowl. And I'm so glad that they did that. And I'm sure they'll probably do an unmasked head sculpt also, probably with rolling eyes, which would be very cool. But I really love that they kind of went back to some of the original looks that he had before he had those really exaggerated, ears.
I see that, Classy. I see exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. Well said, guys. Well said. Thanks for getting warmed up. I do want to bring up some channel news very, very quickly because I wanted to say thank you to everybody that's been a supporter. This past week, the Ben Thomas Show literally crossed 4,000 subscribers. We have 34 channel members, which is insane. Thank you so much for everybody here on the panel who supports me week over week over week on Let's Get Nuts, because these are investments in time. Like 2.5 hours of your Sunday is an investment of somebody's time. So when anybody says yes to coming, it means more to me than you guys honestly realize. Like I said to Luis,
Ben.
thank you. Like I said to Luis
Deserved.
backstage, collecting weekly and 1/6 Fix were kind of the 2 channels that really gave me the opportunity to come on and just talk about figures and kind of get it out of my system, because for the longest time I didn't know anybody that even collected. And now I get to be part of a community of people like yourselves here on the panel and everybody watching that love this stuff just as much as I do. And it's fun because, again, we have people to connect with and talk toys with, and I don't drive my girlfriend as nuts as I probably would otherwise, right? So thank you so much for being somebody out there who clicks the subscribe button, who pays to be a channel member, and he comes, week over week over week to Let's Get Nuts. This is our 43rd Let's Get Nuts show. So I counted them the other day. I didn't realize we'd done already 43 channels or shows in the bank, and no plan to stop going forward, guys. So if you haven't had a chance to subscribe, please do so. It does help. If you share the content, I've heard that helps people find the content, which is really cool. So if you like the show and you like talking about weird butthole popcorn buckets and all the things, please do so or consider doing so. Let's check in with our Tough Nut crew. Of course, we've got Alvin J collecting weekly money, Mendez, 6 Scale Mafia, Katera, Feezy's Figures, King Dingaling, Sith Scale Collector, Paul Schreiber, The Batman, The Movie Canon, 1/6 Figure Focus, SpongeBob Square, Bowles, The _ Empire Strikes, Peter Cass, Ryan Smith, Collector Joey, Sam Gist, 14 Wellington, Jose G. Hernandez, 12-inch Moose Stream, Collection Obsession, Blair Dad Life, Danny Spotchka, Rachel Miller, Honest Hansel, Action in the Box, Figurecraft, Neilerific, Action Figure Academy, X-Men Supreme, Don Maton, Kenneth Jacobson, and Cylon. We had Honest Hansel win the figure giveaway last week, so 2 weeks ago. That was the King Shark. We got it out in the mail to him this week, which was awesome. So hopefully he's received it. Honest Hansel, I saw you in the chat earlier. Let me know if you've received it or not yet, because I slipped in a little extra surprise in there as well. It was not a nut, don't worry about it, but it was cool. So I hope you like that as well. If you guys are interested in becoming channel members, I do plan to give more channel member giveaways away, because again, you guys pay to actually be members. Again, otherwise subscriptions or just subscribing is free, so we appreciate you just being here and having some fun with us. But guys, of course, as always, there's 31 people watching live. Let's say hi to those guys.
Is that everyone? I can put it more.
Nuts!
Assemble.
Great to see you here. We got Action Figure Academy with us. Says happy belated 420 Benjamin. Puff puff pass. You know it, good sir. I smoked and did Lego almost all day yesterday. I've been redoing my Lego tumbler. Awesome set, by the way. We got Figurecraft himself, one of our channel members, here with us in the panel as well as in the show. We got Low Key Collector, Mr. Calvin. Good to see you with the flying banana. Love to see it there. We got Thalia Meyer in the chat with a hello, everyone. Good to see you here, buddy. We got I apologize, Noble Young in the chat with lots of different types of nuts and kisses. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. That's very kind of you, sir. We got Action Figure Academy with us here as well. Let's see. We've got Mr. 12-inch Moose Dream with us here. Hello, community of collectors. My fun today was from yesterday when I received the Inart Joker detonator. Ooh, I'm jealous. I've been seeing so many people receive it, and I keep like checking my mailbox. I'm like, oh, I hate to see it. I don't think I'm gonna get one. And mostly because I think well, I don't know. Maybe the kit doesn't like me. You hate to see it, but I'm hoping. Cross your fingers. Cross your fingers. My friend Travis said he received it yesterday too. We got JB in the collection here. Great to cashew guys live. I love that. That's awesome. We got Adrian Cervantes here. Yes, today they're streaming. I was sad there was no stream last week. Yes, sorry about that. As I said, Classy did tell me at the very last second that, hey, you forgot, I can stream with you every week. And I was like, no, let's take the week off and we'll get back to it. But that's okay. I'm glad you're back with us, Adrian. We got Brick Artemis in the chat with us. What's up, panel and chat? If you guys, for some reason, only happen to watch my show and don't watch anybody else's streams, which is unlikely, let's be honest, if you don't know about Brick Artemis's YouTube channel, make sure you go and check it out and subscribe. The man's doing really well. I think he's on the road to 9K at this point. Wow. And he streams every week with the Jedi Knights Watch over on the Wolfpack Wednesday show on Wednesday nights. And that is now easily one of my favorite streams to catch for the week. Those guys have great chats and all lovely dudes over there. We got Honest Hansel in the chat himself, the member who won the figure giveaway last week. Again, Honest, let us know if you got that figure, okay? We got Big Dog Pound 1 with a woo in the chat. Good to see you, buddy. Thanks for being here. Blue Tattoo with us as well. Hello, everyone. Good to see you, buddy. I want to make sure I don't miss anybody, guys. Thanks for bearing with me, but of course, we got to say hi to everybody here. Vintage Rebellion Podcast with us here. This is why we tune in. I think he's talking about buttholes and popcorn buckets. You'll love to see it. Let's see. I think that's almost everybody. We got Dirk Diggler's stunt double with probably one of the best figure pictures that I've seen there in a while. Poor Rachel. She looks like she's having way too much fun. We got Niculio in the chat with us as well. What's up, Nutbusters? Good to see you. And Christian Cooper as well with a what's up, guys. I think I got everybody. Did I get everybody? Double check.
Thrawn's office.
There we go. Renz Tolentino with us as well. Once again, just to pump everybody because everybody deserves a little love here. Renz.Tolentino art, I believe, is the Instagram handle. Fact check me if I'm wrong there, guys, in the chat. You got to check out his Instagram page if you don't already. I've got the Jenna Ortega Wednesday photo from him. I got that last year, and it is easily one of the most beautiful pieces of art in my collection. So check him out for sure if you can. We got Shiny with us here with a lot of very strange dinosaurs and cat emojis. I appreciate the cats. The dinosaurs throw me off a little bit. And of course, Thrawn's office with them legs. I think that's from the Christian Bale figure, if I'm not mistaken. Or maybe he's just got really jacked kneecaps for whatever reason. Love to see it. Guys, if you wanted to become a member, like all the members that are watching right now, these are some of the member emojis that you'll have available to you for the show. I like the Nutbuster, especially if we're talking about something kind of weird, as well as the little badges that go beside your name. Many of us are now in the Dark Nut section, that 2 to 6 months. I'm excited to see some more Live Long and Nuts out there as well, and maybe eventually some Terminautors. Of course, big shout out to Brother Cousins Toy Reviews. Good to see you here, buddy. Thanks for popping in to see us. He says, what's up, panel and chat? Congrats on the 4K. Dude, thank you so much. Congrats to you as well, because I saw you crossed the 4K line yourself. And you've been grinding for a long time, dude. I love your music videos, some of the ones that are before your shows. Really classy stuff.
And
really
Ben,
good.
he just released an awesome tour collection. Check it out. It's really good.
I haven't had a chance to see it.
Such a great collection. It just released yesterday, so shout out to my guy, brother's cousin. Awesome.
I know, because I heard him mention that. I think it was on Leal's show or one of the other guys that he was going to be releasing it, working hard on it. Those collection tours, like we said at the beginning of the show, they're a beast. They take a lot of time and effort and editing and everything. Mine, I think I worked on mine for about 3 days. So definitely go over and check out Brother Cousin's channel, or I should say collection tour. Tripping over my words today. We got Jordan Skinner here with us as well. Says, hello, secured Riley Battle Damage, Tobey Maguire, Spider-Man. Very excited. My Spider-Man Tobey Maguire is supposed to come tomorrow afternoon. So cross fingers I got batch number 2, I think, there. So I think that is everyone. There we go. Guys, let's get on with the show. Classy Thomas, 2 weeks ago, you told us you were working on a custom Storm figure. And I was like, oh, you got to show us that next week. And then I took the very next week off. So I didn't forget. I wanted to see it. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing with this figure here, buddy.
Yeah, this is actually, I had purchased the 1/6 head sculpt from a seller on eBay. And I said, this gives me the feel of Storm, because I also have the Halle Berry head sculpt from Days of Future Past, and I have actually plucked out all the hair, and I'm planning on rebrooding it. But the good thing about that head sculpt is that she's not as light as she is in real life, and she matches the skin color of this feisty body here. And so I was like, wow. I said, I think I can make that work. But when I saw this head sculpt, I said, well, I think I'm also going to make one with this head sculpt also. She has more full lips. I can do it with her. What my goal is, if I have a little bit of shaking in my hands because of some of the medications I take. So the eyes, what I want to do with the eyes is actually paint them a very light blue and do a white wash over them. Cool. So that you still can see a little hint of the blue, but that when her powers activate, it kind of makes her eyes look white. So that's my goal with this, is to really turn her in there. And I've got some beautiful wool that I'm going to make a really beautiful mohawk with. But I've got to sand down her head a little bit. Her head's a little bit bumpy, so I got to sand that down just a little bit and do some additional work. But afterwards, I think I'm kind of excited about the prospects of how she's going to turn out. So yeah, that's my goal, is to actually work on her. I actually, because I did not have a head to work on, I started off with just the body and the costume. And once Bison finally released some brown skin figure bodies, I said, yes, I am all in, buddy. So I purchased several, and I said, well, I can do some different iterations of Storm. I'll do Mohawk Storm first, and then I'm thinking about trying to work on her original costume. I've still got a little bit of work to do on that. I've got to find a few parts and stuff like that. But I'm very excited about her. I really am. I'm very excited.
Classy.
Good work so far, dude.
Yes, sir.
Really, really nice.
Great minds think alike.
Aha! Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Now,
That's awesome.
this one I did 5 years ago. It's already showing its age because the paint's starting to peel and the leather's already cracking. Mm-hmm. But do the recent reveal of that classic Storm one with the black suit and the kind of sort of like the 60s bikini or swimsuit.
Yes.
That would be an awesome to make. But yeah, great job. It's funny how I saw that. I'm like, I did the same thing. That's amazing. Classy and I, we think alike.
Great minds think alike.
Nice job.
Heck yeah, dude. Very cool. Keep us posted on updates. Anytime you get a kind of a measurable update, throw it in the Let's Get Nuts chat. And we'll share it with the team here and with all the people watching. Also, I did get a quick text message from an unknown phone number. I'm just kidding. It was Honest Hansel sent me a picture of his King Shark in the collection from the giveaway last week.
Awesome.
Love to see that there. That looks cool.
Congratulations.
Man. Very cool figure. So thank you for sharing that. I'm definitely glad that you received it.
Well, Hansel, I thought you were going to, once you received it from Ben, you were going to send it to me. I thought that's what we had discussed. Wow.
That is what you discussed.
Oh, by the way, you have a new member.
Yes, thank you very much. We got Adrian Cervantes, just became a new channel member over on the Tough Nut crew. I will make sure I get your name added on the slide next week, good sir. This is for you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, good sir. Definitely appreciate your support here over on the show. We really, really appreciate it. It is really what helps me get those figure giveaways and all that stuff. Make it a possibility, I should say, at the very least. But I do want to pop into the next subject here, guys, because we're still moving along here. Keanu Reeves has now been officially confirmed as the voice of Shadow in the upcoming Sonic 3 film. Now, I will be honest with you guys, I have not seen Sonic 2 yet. And I'm told by Dean, one of my best friends in life out there, that Sonic 2 is, if not better, at least just as good as the first one, which I did really enjoy. So I got to go back and watch the second film at this point, because clearly more of the cast of characters are starting to come together. For me, I got made fun of on Collecting Weekly this last week because I talked about my divorced parents. But when I was younger, my parents divorced, and my dad had a Sega Genesis at his house, and my mom had Nintendo. And depending on what you feel, I got a good variety of games. For me, Sega Genesis is all about Mortal Kombat 1 and 2. And Sonic 2 specifically. I actually like Sonic 2 more than Sonic 1. Sonic 2 was the GOAT, in my opinion, and I played the shit out of that game. I always made my sister play as Tails, naturally, of course. But I'm really excited about the inclusion of Shadow in the third film, because I actually really like some of the story that centers around Shadow. The interesting part for me is that, Keanu Reeves has such an iconic voice, but I forgot that he was a voice actually in Toy Story not that long ago as, the Canadian stuntman, and I can't remember the heck his name now. But he did a great job in that movie, and I could totally see him now. I'm kind of warming up to the idea of him as a Shadow voice. So, Philly, I don't know if you're a huge Sonic guy yourself. What are your thoughts on Keanu Reeves' inclusion in the Sonic-verse?
I haven't seen part 2 like you, as such as yourself. I did see part 1. I surprisingly really enjoyed it. I love Jim Carrey. I've been a fan since In Living Color. He brought it. And Sonic, I love this personality. I like the kind of the dynamics that he had with Cyclops. And
Hell yeah.
it was good. I love the music was really good too. I like the good soundtrack when it comes to a movie. So looking forward to this. I will be catching up with part 2, and then this with Keanu Reeves. Originally, I thought it was going to be Hayden Christensen, but apparently that didn't work out.
Was teased, yeah.
Yeah, but Keanu is, if anything, just as good. It's better, and I think he would bring his voice and character into the movie, so that'd be really fun and exciting. So looking forward to it.
Hell yeah. Being the only Canadian currently on the panel, I'm very supportive of Canadians getting cast in these awesome roles, and I love Keanu Reeves. I also love Hayden Christensen for a bit of a different reason. I never had an issue with him in the Star Wars movies back in the day, and of course he's kind of made a return and become even more popular and mega than he was in the past, of course. But with Keanu, I think that's really exciting. Now, I also did hear that with Keanu, there is a show called The Ballerina, I believe it's, and it's based in the world of John Wick. And initially it was teased that he might, kind of show up maybe as a bit of a cameo. Sounds like he might actually have a bit broader of a part in that film or show as John Wick himself or the Baba Yaga. So I think we're going to see a little bit more Keanu Reeves going forward, which I'm always okay with. I love to see that man do his thing. Luis, are you excited about the inclusion of Keanu Reeves here, or would you have pictured a different voice for a character like Shadow? Anybody in mind if that was the case?
I am. I've seen Sonic 2, so I'm a huge fan of the Sonic series. I love Nintendo, but for me, Sega edges it just a little more, growing up in the 90s there. So I'm totally on board for this. Keanu, as you mentioned, because he has such an iconic voice, it's hard to take the Keanu out of the character. I was expecting Hayden as well, and I'm a little more biased towards my guy Hayden, but not to say Keanu won't knock it out of the park. It's a great character for him, and he does great work all around. So I think it's a great fit. I'm excited. I think it's coming out end of the year, And when we got out of Sonic 2, and I don't want to spoil anything, my family and I were like, okay, obviously they're going to make a third one. And it's just a matter of like, when is it going to happen? So when they finally teased this, I'm like, finally, it's going to happen. And I don't know if I read somewhere or saw it that they may be kind of doing like a video game type multiverse, like film franchise. And I think Sonic could be the start of more. So hopefully, but it's exciting for sure.
Hell yeah. Vintage Rebellion says it was between two Canadians. I said, I know. That's what I'm saying. Hayden or Keanu here, totally cool with either of those. If we get a little Canadian bacon in the mix, of course. Pete, I don't know. Were you ever a Nintendo guy, more of a Sega guy? Did you have kind of any lean either way? And have you given the Sonic universe much of a chance? Especially with now some of the growing hype around it. I'm hearing people say that it's better than the MCU at this point, which I mean is a bold statement, but I know guys like Dean love it, so maybe it's true. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I would definitely say I was Nintendo. I don't think either system was as massive in the UK as it was possibly in the States and Canada. We were much more into sort of early computers here, so like the Commodore Amiga, things like that. So that was like my real thing. But I got into Nintendo with the SNES. I've never actually owned a what do we call it here? You had Genesis. It had a different name here, but
there was Dreamcast as well, but it was technically a different system.
Mega Drive. So Sega Mega Drive is what they called it here. Yeah.
Oh.
A friend had one. Yeah, I really enjoyed the first two Sonic movies, and Keanu Reeves is a class act, so he'll be good. The thing that amuses me most about this photo is the fact that because he's now in Sonic, he's actually styling himself to look like Jim Carrey. He looks like Jim Carrey. If I saw that in a passing, doesn't he? Do you not think so?
Oh, you're saying Keanu looks like Jim Carrey?
Yeah. It looks like Jim Carrey there.
I don't necessarily see it, but it was 420 yesterday, so I don't judge anybody. That's awesome. They're definitely both aging gentlemen, that's for sure. I have seen that. I have seen that with Jim Carrey in the third film. It's looking like he's at least the character anyways, is looking like he's gaining some weight. Kind of that more classic resemblance of Robotnik. Because if you guys remember from the game, I mean, he was pretty round in his little ships and everything. Whereas Jim Carrey in the first two films, at least from what I've seen, was pretty thin, very slender, but definitely has that craziness for the role of Robotnik.
Was saying he was looking like Drew Carey, and I was like,
oh my god, Drew Carey is looking more like a woman all the time. I think,
but in case anybody cares, I had a Radio Shack, so you all had the fancy stuff like the Segas, and you had the Commodores. I had Radio Shack, so.
What'd you get at Radio Shack though?
I don't even know. I don't even remember. It was nothing worth playing on. But,
too funny.
But yeah, but I think I'll go see a movie. Look, I'll see anything that has Keanu in it because he is by far one of my favorite actors and just a great human being. And so, watching him perform brings me joy. So I haven't seen any of the Sonic movies, so I'll have to go back and watch them.
Go back and watch them. Go back and watch them before Dean cuts you off as a friend. Just saying. Guys, let's move on, but let us know what your thoughts are on the casting of Keanu Reeves. Is this something that you guys support? Are you excited about it? Would you have rather see Hayden Christensen in the role instead with his voice? I would be curious to see what you guys say in live or on the replay if you're watching, of course. Let's move on because this popped up last week as well, and I was really excited about this news. The Last Ronin is one of the most violent turtle stories and kind of like emotionally upsetting turtle stories I've ever read. But it really stuck with me. I collected the book shortly after I read it. Like a friend had lent it to me and I immediately went out and bought it because that's just me in collecting. If I've got nostalgia for something or something has kind of created an emotional feeling, it makes me feel really connected to it. It's now being reported that there is a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie in the works that's rated R. that is kind of centering itself around the story of The Last Ronin. And I was really excited to hear that because, again, really cool story. But also up till now, you know, the Ninja Turtles have often been kind of I want to say moved into kind of that realm for kids. I think the most recent film felt a little on the young side. I did enjoy it, and I thought the artwork was stellar. It was really, really good. But it did feel a little bit more like a kids movie. And then, you know, when I think back to that '90s film, you know, with Raphael and and all the turtles, but like just the kind of the old school costumes that they had and the weapons, and April O'Neil and Casey Jones and all of that kind of grittiness of that first '90s film. I loved that, but even that wasn't a rated R film by any stretch. So I'll be curious to see kind of how far into the storyline they go. Like, are they allowed to take the handcuffs off and go full story? I think it would be really cool. And I don't even want to spoil the story here today, guys. So more at a high level, Philly, are you excited to hear about a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles film in the works resembling The Last Ronin?
Definitely. I think it's a genius move because everybody that grew up with the 90s is, you know, 20, 30 years older. So this is for that type of audience. And, you know, moving on, I mean, the Turtles have been around for a long time. The story has kind of grown and matured and not to mention the original comics were originally intended to be sort of mature. So something like this, I can definitely resonate with. If they really do this, I've heard that they were going to do a video game. So I don't know if this turned into from a video game into a movie, or they could be doing both. I don't know, but
both would be sweet.
And yeah, anything like this, give it to me. I'd be more than happy. It's funny you mentioned the last movie. I tried watching it. I really couldn't connect with it. It was beautifully done and it was a nice story, but I think it would aim more towards kids. And unfortunately, I just couldn't connect. And for me, it's just take me back to 1990, 1991, part 1, part 2. Mm-hmm. Even though they're a big contrast difference, they were still awesome. But the original, it had that feeling of rated R, even though it wasn't technically rated R. It had that dark, gritty feeling. Bring me back to that and make it rated R. Sure, why not? I'm all for it.
Yeah, I always hated that redhead kid Danny, though. He always pissed me off. But it's just like, it was the worst. He was the worst. But the Foot Clan was really cool, and Orokusaki and all those guys. I loved that first film. The Secret of the Ooze definitely tuned it more back to family friendly content, though. In fact, they weren't even allowed to use the weapons in that second film. You realize that out of kind of another rewatch that they stay holstered most of the time, and they use random things like balloons and pool noodles and stuff to fight off the foot soldiers.
Air kicks that didn't connect.
Yeah, exactly. Luis, what are your thoughts on the Ninja Turtles kind of as a whole? Is this a comic series that you were ever interested in as a kid, or really is this going to be maybe your first introduction into the Last Ronin story?
Yeah, I've been putting off the Last Ronin. I don't want to spoil anything too. So maybe I'll wait for the film at this point and then kind of compare the two after. I'm a huge Ninja Turtles fan. I would still love to see a 90 style 1/6 scale representation of them. I know there's been other versions, but I'm excited for this for sure. I liked the more recent film, but again, that's one that I took my kids to like day one of release, so they love it, and I can see, similar to Star Wars, where they're taking the franchise and starting to develop it for a younger generation, so then it's relevant in the next 20, 30 years, and to see a rated R version for what, we grew up with, I think would be great. Put me down if they can do it kind of like a Kill Bill type, slashing type film where you can have that kind of fun soundtrack, but at the same time just have a ton of slashing and blood. I think that could work out. And of course the grittiness of the 90s would work out too. So they can do a lot with it. But yeah, I'm on board for sure.
It makes you realize how scaled back in terms of violence some of those films had to be, right? Because these turtles are wielding like swords and scythes and nunchucks and all these things, but it's like that those would do some pretty serious damage if they were connecting to real people. Like It is a little on the violent side if you really like look into it. I once played a Wolverine video game. It was based on the movie Wolverine Origins. It was for PS3. And if anybody ever had a chance to play that game, it's one of the best Wolverine games I've ever played, because you could literally chop guys' limbs off, you chop their bodies in half. Like, it was epically violent, but like, again, you're playing as Wolverine with 3 adamantium claws coming out of his hand, right? Like, how could it not be violent?
Even the opening was incredibly violent. I remember the opening, remember?
Yeah. Insane, absolutely. And like the regeneration of the body. If you guys have a PS3 or you ever have a chance to go back to that game, I would definitely recommend it. But again, same thing with the turtles here. These guys are using some pretty epic weapons, so I want to see what that looks like in the rated R realm. Pete, do you have any connection to the turtles over England side there? Is that something that you guys were a big fan of? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I was the two big movies that I remember as a kid. I was 14 when 89, the first Batman movie came out. I'm 15 when the Turtles came out. So I was like right at the head of that hype. I anything I could read, magazines. I used to cut out pictures and stuff as they were sort of teasing what these movies were going to look like. So I absolutely loved the first Turtles movie. I loved the soundtrack. Everything is just about as perfect as you could get. Just as the others have said, not the level of violence that the original comics had, but just enough. It was good. I'm not even sure I've seen any of the other ones, because I just didn't. From what I read about them, they just they lost that kind of original spirit of the first movie, which had a kind of dark feel to it. I think.
Definitely did.
I've enjoyed the. There was an animated one, and then there was the 2 sort of live action ones, which were okay, entertaining, but not that same nostalgia. And the recent one, again, I took my son. We really enjoyed it. The visual style was beautiful. But I definitely welcome a full on
violent aspect. Like, where could this
if
go?
It was like that scene in Kill.
That could be epic. Oh, Pete, we lost your voice. I think you muted.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, just as like you said, just chopping limbs off and just blood everywhere. It would be crazy.
It would be crazy. I wonder how much. I wonder, when Deadpool came out, for example, and it was rated R, everybody was like, oh, like, comics, like people want it for all audiences, but like, will a rated R Deadpool movie be successful? And of course it was. And then with the Joker film as well, it was it was rated R. Like, can it be rated R and still capture enough wallets? And it made $1 billion, and it's like, okay, so like clearly this is what people are starting to look for and crave, and I'm excited to see kind of what comes next for it. Classy, do you have any thoughts on this, or I can get you on the next one here, buddy?
Oh, you can get me on the next one.
All right, guys, let's move into some figure news. We have somewhere between 40 and 50 people watching live. Thank you so much for being here with us, getting nuts today. We did mention it earlier, but we have been doing started giving member giveaways. So if you're interested in becoming a Tough Nut member, link is in the chat there for you. Let's move into some 6 scale news, because I do want to get into the 6 scale side of life here as well. I wanted to bring this up first. So I'm part of a lot of random like figure groups now, right? You get involved in all the different 6 scale community groups, and yesterday I had a waitlist conversion on my Black Adam, as well as my Scarlet, I don't call him Scarlett Johansson, Scarlet Witch figure here. Now, I'd already gone and bought them from Pop Culture, so didn't need the waitlist conversion. So I put these 2 in my group chats to say, hey, like, if anybody's looking for this, let me know. And then more posts started filing in, and more and more and more, and I literally just grabbed the first 5 that I saw. But I'm not kidding, I saw at least 10 different figures coming up as congratulations, your waitlist is converted from Sideshow. So I wanted to really quickly bring it up, because I feel like right now, there is a lot of cool shit in the 1/6 scale figure world. And sometimes this stuff is hard to plan for, even when you have things paid off, even when you've got your, your budget in line, or maybe you're one of those folks that really doesn't have their budget in line and kind of flies by to the seat of their pants. They have those emotional purchases, and then, a year later, it's not as emotionally connected anymore, so they can give them away. So I wanted to get your thoughts on this, guys, because we've all been collecting 1/6 scale now for quite some time. When you guys see things hit waitlist, does that ever make you want to hit the waitlist button, the join waitlist, just to see if maybe it converts for you? Or do you feel like it's a sales tactic that doesn't actually work all that well for collectors nowadays? To me, it does feel a little sales tactic-y, especially when I'm seeing this many conversions in one single day. Classy, I'll go with you first, because you've been ordering figures for a long time. Does the waitlist thing get to you?
Not really, because usually, I know when I want a figure, and when they first make it available, I usually will go in and make my purchase. I'm a day one pre-order type of guy. If it's with Sideshow, and if I missed it and it's on waitlist, I just go to one of the Asian market stores and order it there. So yeah, it doesn't really affect me. I don't know. I think this is kind of I don't know. I've always been kind of not suspicious, but I don't know. I don't feel like, look, you either have the product or you don't. If some people canceled and that's the reason why your wait list is opening, I can get that you want to make it available to the very next person, but I don't know. There's got to be some reason that all these things are coming available right now. Have they been waiting so long that people have just lost patience and bought them elsewhere, and that's the reason why these things are suddenly opening up for other consumers on the wait list? So I just my thing is, look, let me get it someplace where I know I can get a commitment. So if I can't get it from Sideshow,
Makes sense.
there are many different stores that I can order it from. I'll just go to one of those sources and try there until I find one.
Absolutely. Big Dog Pound says, the economy is not great. Some people might be passing on some pre-orders because of financial decisions. I think that's absolutely the case.
Yeah.
And again, I think if we buy with our emotions, not always buy with our nostalgia brain or some of the other things that cause somebody to spend that kind of money on collectibles, sometimes it's like, okay, now do I really need the Black Adam? Because now I really want that Hayden Christensen, or now I really want this one, right? And sometimes we can pivot a little bit. I would think that it was people just canceling their orders and a couple more pieces of stock come out because, people have canceled. But when I see, 10 to 12 different figures all have the same day, it feels a little bit more like a trend and a little bit less like some people must have just canceled. What are your thoughts on that, Philly?
Well, right now also people are just being very careful with their money. So a lot of stuff it's just sitting, and Sideshow still has a lot of stuff in stock in their warehouse. It's sitting. They're trying to get rid of it. So obviously they're not going to repeat the same mistake the last 2.5 years. So now they're being more limited, and anything that's not a big seller, they're being more conservative on their numbers. And when they go on waitlist, and if they get a higher demand on the waitlist, if you click on that waitlist button, they're going to see that and say, well, we got this much demand on waitlist, so maybe we should probably order a couple more. Really, so that's what's going on. And I saw this on Friday. I had probably 3 of them. I got another conversion for Padme, so I got 2 Padmes now. So hopefully I'll customize the second one as a battle damage. But and what's really funny is they wait on Friday. What's Friday for everybody?
Payday.
True.
And Ben, you mentioned that you're on sale in sales too, so I'm sure you can catch it on very quick. It's their tactics, and it's a business. They're trying to run a business, and you have ways of running a business. So I think it's genius. And FOMO exists in the 1/6 scale community. It does. If I see a figure that I passed on because financial reasons, and it comes out and it looks really good and they're doing reviews and it's amazing, I'm going to regret it. I'm going to want to try to find it. And this is where waitlist conversions come in as well. So
I'm glad you mentioned the FOMO side of it too, because that is something that I felt yesterday when I saw this, but I didn't feel the FOMO. I felt pissed off because I had FOMO, because what ended up happening was I liked the Black Adam figure. I didn't love the film. But at first, the prototype, I was like, it's close, but I don't 100% see it. I think I can skip it. And then the figure released. And then it was like, oh my God, that looks so good. It looks so much like Dwayne Johnson. How cool would it be to put him in maybe my collection next to my John Cena Peacemaker, just as like my, wrestlers who have become movie stars section of my collection. And so I went and I wanted to buy it, and it was sold out. And so I immediately went over to Pop Culture and bought it there. And now a month later, boom, here it is, waitlist available. For me here in Canada, Sideshow is the easiest distributor to get figures from. So I'm going out of my way now getting this from Australia because my FOMO couldn't resolve the fact that I didn't plan to get this figure, but once I saw it and I thought it was cool, I wanted it, and then I made an emotional purchase that has now bit me in the ass slightly. I'll still get the figure, but I'm gonna have to wait even longer, which is infuriating. Luis, have you ever had? Go ahead.
Sorry. I said I was gonna say that happened to me too, but the problem is I messed up and I forgot to order Padme before she went on waitlist. Sure. So I got mine at a local retail shop, and then it's like now I'm waiting for Sideshow to send it to the comic shop so they can send it to me, and it's like I could have just gotten it straight from Sideshow. So
hell yeah, absolutely. Luis, have you ever had that experience with FOMO? You've been collecting a really long time. You got a beautiful collection behind you. Have you ever put yourself on a wait list for a figure you ultimately didn't actually want? Or have you ever bought a figure based on FOMO that once you got it in the collection, you were like, yeah, I didn't really need this?
Philly can attest to this now. I jumped on the Crosshair hype. I had no intentions of getting any of the Bad Batch. I try to separate my Star Wars Hot Toys as strictly episodes so that I can at least limit the amount I'm purchasing. But Bad Batch, obviously, it's a great show. And Crosshair was the one that everyone is still going crazy for. So Philly hooked me up big time, and I went on the wait list, I'm sure maybe a month ago when it was still skyrocketing, and I got it. But now that's led me to go for the other ones. I managed to score Wrecker, but these are all from places that are outside of Sideshow. So I do think personally the wait list during pre-order is a FOMO gimmick. But obviously, once it's releasing, then that's where the wait list, I think, is more true. And to get on a wait list early on, once it's released in HK, I think that you're still safe, because once Sideshow starts shipping them, then that's where they'll convert to. But I don't think getting on a wait list during pre-order phase is really because there's just no more. Because all Sideshow has to do, like Philly said, is, hey, we need more Hot Toys. That's it. Just make more. And they can gauge the interest and determine whether or not this figure, just from all these pre-orders and wait lists, is going to be big. So I, like some of you, did pre-order Padme from another source, and then my waitlist converted, so I'm probably stuck with two because I had some discounts for the other one. So I'll end up with two, or maybe sell to someone who needs it, just like Philly hooked me up. But I've never gotten on a wait list for a figure that I didn't think that I needed. I'm not a day one pre-order guy, but if I know that it's essential to my collection, I know at one point I have to get it, and I do keep close eye on the inventory running low. That's when I'll pull the trigger, usually on the pre-orders, is once that inventory is running low banner, then I'll pre-order it. But
that's
day
still
one,
that fear
no.
of missing out, just a little bit in there, though. Of course.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. The FOMO is definitely real. Um, but I was pre-ordering things early on when the prices were still low. I mean, figures are almost $300 now, and when I got into Hot Toys, it was just under 150. So
Huge
they've
price
come a long
differential.
way, but it's that the prices have come a long way too. And I also have to limit myself because Star Wars is just that rabbit hole that you have to limit it.
You do. It's hard. There was a time where you could have that drive to try and have everything that came out. Now
Yeah.
I think at least for most of us, that's impossible. You do have to cultivate that collection up to a certain extent, and that's why I also mentioned those emotional purchases at the beginning of this segment, because again, I've made lots of emotional purchases, and lately that's bit me in the ass. Losing NRDs for something even as low as the Hono Wolverine. Like I saw it, I thought it was cool, I immediately bought it. And then after I started counting up pre-orders and I realized I had 12 pre-orders right now, I'm like, holy shit, this is getting up to be like $5,000 Canadian. Even if that figure's only $160 American, that's still $225. By the time I get it in customs, it's still pushing $280. Do I need it? No. And then I still lost my $25 American. So it's like, okay, like those things add up as well. And that makes me feel really stupid when I'm losing that kind of money. But then I see companies like Mondo, Pete, for example, that like Mondo give these timed pre-order windows, and that's something that I actually really appreciate about Mondo, because while there is some level of wait system with Mondo as well, there are figure websites that you can put yourself on a wait list for their figures. Oftentimes with Mondo, like once that pre-order window closes, that's it. The item sells out, and then you get your collectible or you missed out. And you have to wait for their eventual reissue, let's be honest. But that is something that I think I like more, because when I have a period of time, Pete, to like decide if I want a figure, as opposed to just like, oh shit, it's waitlisting quickly because it's getting, it's trending well. Oh god, maybe I should buy it. I like having that time to think about it and then make my decision. And I feel like that often gives me less emotional purchases and more strategic ones. Pete, what are your thoughts on waitlists now? Seeing this kind of weird trend yesterday of like all of these figures suddenly converting for people. Again, this is just a small snapshot of what I saw online. Is this a trend or is this something that's predictable?
Seems to have gone pretty crazy. I think it's just difficult to know whether it's an intentional ploy, a marketing thing, trying to, as you say, exploiting people's FOMO. It's interesting because obviously, as a collector in the UK, I've never bought anything from Sideshow because the price that you see on the website is possibly okay, competitive, but then we've got to add shipping on, and that's probably going to be another $70-$80, and then the real kicker is the customs. So we'd have to pay 20% on top of the price of the figure and the price of the shipping. So it's an absolute no-no for me. So the concept of a wait list doesn't really exist. I think it's for us here, you either go for it, you either pre-order straight away, or you just wait and take your chances. So I mean, I do pre-order a lot of stuff through Kit, who's my preferred retailer. But obviously with Kit, doesn't tend to have stuff very long. He has a pre-order amount, and once it's gone, it's gone. And occasionally you do see them pop up. They say, "Oh, we've got 2 units of this," and they're gone. So if it's something that I really, really want, I will pre-order it with Kit. Other stuff, there are things that when I see them come out, I think, "Oh, I wish I could have gone for that." But I think at the end of the day, with most figures, there's always somewhere to get it. It might cost you a few pounds more than if you pre-ordered it. I think there's exceptions to that, like some of the recent Inart stuff, and we can obviously talk about another one on the show. If you don't pre-order those, people will be selling them, but you've got to pay twice what they went for. Whereas, I'd quite like a Padme, and I think if I see one come up at a decent price, I'll probably grab it. But it wasn't one that I kind of felt I had to pre-order at the time.
Absolutely.
But yeah, no, I mean, it's good for people that thought they'd missed out and getting an opportunity to get the figures. So
absolutely. Yeah. No, well said, Pete. Well said. Collection Obsession, one of our channel members says, very rarely do my pre-orders convert. Only one ever did. Artisan Wonder Woman. I was shocked. Chat, let me know, what is the one conversion you've had that you maybe were the most excited about? I would love to hear from you guys. What's that one figure that converted and you're like, hell yeah, now I'm buying it? What about you, Classy? Do you have any figures in your collection that you purchased based on FOMO that you realized after the fact maybe you didn't really need? Or does FOMO never really get you and everything that you do is classy and strategic?
I'm not going to say that it's strategic, but I always, when I look at the figures, because I want it. I don't purchase figures because other people have expressed how cool it is. It's because I want it. Perfect example. This guy back here, Kingpin, I wanted him. Then I got him, and he didn't fit any of my 1/6 figures, and I was on the verge of giving him away. I actually really like this figure. And then I put him up next to these quarter scales. I said, this is a quarter scale figure. I said, I can keep this fool. So I actually put him with my Spider-Man and my Iron Man, and he fits in perfect there. So, I mean, I very rarely will purchase. I don't have a lot of regrets. Usually, if I have a regret, it's something that I purchased on sale. Like, for example, I did have a little bit of FOMO. I'm not a big Iron Man collector, but Sideshow, I think it might have been back around when they were doing that sale, Black Friday sale, I think, and they had the Midas Iron Man suit and the kind of one that's kind of like seafoam green, and they were at a really good price. I said, you know what, I think I'm going to get them because they're die cast, and that's pretty cool. And then I got them. I was like, what am I going to do? I said, the only one I think I can do something with is the Midas, the seafoam green one. I'm like, So
this green one?
Yeah, that green one is the only one that I have a little bit of regret about, that I bought on FOMO. But I got them at a really good price, and the shipping wasn't outrageous. So it kind of was more like an unfortunate thing. But all of the pre-orders that I've ordered, I think I've only canceled maybe 1 or 2 figures from Sideshow. Like, I did order that Keanu Reeves Cyberpunk, I think. That was FOMO, and after I bought it, I said, after I had done the pre-order, I sat and I thought about it, and I said, I really don't want this. And so before, the only thing I lost on that one was just the NRD. So that's it. I think that's the only one I really canceled and bought kind of really on FOMO from a pre-order.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I think the only one that really stands out to me to answer my own kind of out there question was Batman Beyond from the video game line. I loved the video game. The figure came out and I thought he was like so cool. And back then I wasn't doing streams yet or anything, and I used to watch Jetta Patrol a lot, and Jetta Patrol was kind of like, oh, this is going to be that one figure that nobody's going to be able to find. It's going to be completely gone. It's just so cool. And so I was like, okay, like I'm going to go buy it right now. And I bought it, and I got it in the collection. And while it is very cool, don't get me wrong, I am no slight to Jetta by any stretch, what I didn't realize was how large the video game series is scaled next to the other Batman I had at the time, which was the DX12 Christian Bale. Literally, Christian Bale came up to the top of Batman Beyond's shoulders, but it drove me bonkers in terms of scale. I couldn't make it work, and so I moved it on, took a bit of a loss, and that was kind of my first time ever where I was like, I didn't do my homework. You know, the height of the figure is literally listed in the details. I could have easily read it, but instead I just clicked purchase, and you know, took a bit of a loss on that for sure.
It's also, you know, MMS versus VGM.
VGM.
So,
VGM.
VGM.
Or yeah,
VGM.
Yeah.
exactly.
So
Just a
difference.
just a quick hi to a couple people. We do have Tremble Dust in the chat with us, one of my Star Trek friends. You came just in time. We're going to have a little quick Star Trek segment next. Yomo in the chat as well. Got Scarlet Witch conversion email. I was hoping to get Black Adam. Yomo, hit me up on Instagram. I think my waitlist conversion is available until tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken. So if you want to figure out a way to get that to you, we can figure that out as well. Brandon Ottoman answered the call and says Anakin Artisan and Arena Boba Fett were my two lucky lands. Also very, very cool figures. We got TX Boy here in the chat with us as well. And I think that's most of the new... Oh, of course, we got Pop Culture Living Room in the chat with us as well. And his compadre, it's Randall, is with us here as well. Sounds like Pop Culture Living Room is going to be having his own live stream on Sunday evenings. Please put it in the chat if you can, Costa, what time that will start. Hopefully we can try to avoid overlap with each other if possible. But of course, I'm a big fan of his channel, so make sure you go and check that out later tonight. If you want to keep the nutty fun going, maybe Randall will make an appearance there for sure. We also have about 60 people watching us live. Thank you so much for getting nuts with us on Sunday, guys. If you haven't already jotted it down, please make sure you go and subscribe to my friend Luis Pop Culture Relics YouTube channel later today, as well as Collecting Weekly with Pete, SpongeBob Square Balls with Classy Thomas, and Philly over at Figurecraft. Those guys are putting on some great work on their YouTube channel, and don't miss it. Okay, guys, let's move on here. I'm sure this will be a short segment because I know not everybody's Star Trek fans, and I do want to keep it respectful for everybody that's here, 60 people. But Exo6 has dropped their pre-order window for Captain Liam Shaw from the Picard Season 3 television show. Now, I will say that I haven't loved most of the new Trek over the last couple of years. I wasn't a huge fan of Discovery, unfortunately. Didn't love some of the other stuff. I don't mind Strange New Worlds, but it's gotten into some romance sections with Spock that kind of drive me a little nuts. So it's kind of turned me off the show just ever so slightly, I'm not going to lie. Picard Season 1 and 2, I didn't mind Season 1. I couldn't get through Season 2, which was weird for me being a Star Trek fan. I couldn't get through it. And so when the third season came up, I gotta say, I really wasn't excited for it at all. But showrunner Terry Matalas knows his Trek, and Star Trek The Next Generation is by far my favorite Trek. And I will say that Picard Season 3, if you have not given it a chance and you are a Next Generation fan, please do yourself a favor. At least give it a shot. It brought tears to my eyes. It felt like Season 8 of Star Trek The Next Generation. I loved it. Yeah. I would highly recommend it. And Captain Shaw was definitely one of those characters in the show where at first you're like, man, this guy's a dick. I don't like this guy. He's saying no to Captain Picard and Riker. Well, no. I guess he's not Captain Picard anymore. Admiral Picard, let's be honest, and Captain Riker. You can't say no to those guys. They're the classics. But of course, he was following his rules. His first officer, Annika Hansen, or otherwise known as 7 of 9, is also in the show as well, and she is wonderful. And while I absolutely love the actor who portrays Shaw, didn't love him at first. He definitely grows on you through the show, and then by the end of the show, for me anyways, I really, really liked him. Now, the cool thing about this actor is he is a collector himself. Really cool collection. He's appeared on shows like Six Scale Mafia's channel, where he actually got a chance to see this figure of himself, which was really heartwarming to watch, I'm not going to lie. He was clearly very happy with it. Me, on the other hand, I'm not that happy with it. I don't think that this looks really anything like the actor himself, unfortunately. I don't know. He looks like his head's been compressed in some kind of weird vice, especially in this picture. I don't see it. Now, Six Scale Mafia, Anthony over there, he takes a lot of the photos lately, and so I have noticed a significant improvement on the photos. Unfortunately, for better or for worse, though, because some of these photos, while they're much better in quality, actually, in my opinion, show that the sculpt is still a little on the soft side. Now, he did caution me and said, Ben, give it a chance. If you liked the character, maybe give it a chance, because in person, it does look better. And I will say that with my experience with the Exo 6 figures, that has actually been the case. I've liked them more in person than I have looking at them on a static picture, especially when you compare them to the actor himself. But Pete, I know you're a big Star Trek guy, and it sounds like you really enjoyed Picard Season 3. Is this Captain Shaw figure one that you would consider putting in the collection?
Ben, they've fucked us again. Every time we talk about XO6, it's just like, yes, I loved Picard season 3. I thought it was exceptional. It hits you right here, right in the heart. Who wants Captain Shaw? Even if it was, they'd absolutely nailed the likeness. Again, he's a very, and he's great in it. And those scenes where he's doing his job and he's doing the right thing, and he's arguing with legends of Starfleet, and he's proved right because Picard just fucks everything up. But who wants this figure? I just think, and I'm surprised that the actor said he liked it, but then I suppose he's getting money out of this. In some ways, it's kind of like an idealized version of him. It's slimmer, so he's probably thinking, yeah, I look quite dashing. It's not good. It's almost a little bit cartoony for me. Again, come on, XO6, just give us something. Just give us some original series or some more next gen, because this just isn't doing it for me, and I certainly haven't got any interest in purchasing this guy.
Follow-up question then for you, Pete. If they do give us an Annika Hansen or a First Officer Hansen, and it's good, would that maybe consider or give you consideration for this figure to pair them together, or do you think she could stand on her own if she was awesome? I love Jerry Ryan, so if she comes out good, I'll buy her.
Yeah. I mean, I know that she has a there's a hardcore following for her, obviously, and because as I've said to you before, Ben, because I wasn't a Voyager fan, the whole 7 and 9 thing passed me by. I mean, I obviously was aware of her, a very beautiful lady, and obviously she wore some very seductive looking outfits. So but then would they do it rooted hair or sculpted? Because she's got a lot of hair in this movie, in this series, and you'd sort of think that it might be a bit tricky to do it sculpted, but then they haven't really done. I don't know if they've released anything with it. Did the crew come out yet?
No, it hasn't yet.
No, so he would be the first one, wouldn't he? That's coming out with the rooted hair.
When he's got sculpted eyebrows, which I think is hilarious. It's like rooted hair and sculpted eyebrows.
Yeah.
There's only so much you can do, I guess. But.
Yeah. It's like the artisan Jack Sparrow, who's still got a sculpted beard. I think, and the other one was they teased a long time ago was Khan, wasn't it? That had rooted hair. So I don't know. I think people would be more interested, but I'm not sure that this, as good as the third series was. I think if they gave you all the next gen characters, then yeah, I would buy them. Yeah, I would buy them, but not these kind of periphery characters as I would say. Yeah. So again, they're putting out a lot of content. It's great, but I just think they're missing the mark again.
It's not exactly what you're wanting. That's a big
not for me. No,
I don't really follow a lot of the XO6 figures, but it's not a bad looking sculpt, but it doesn't really look like the actor. So if you're going after a likeness of the actor, the figure looks more like his 20-year younger third cousin than the actual actor himself.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that make it a bad sculpt though, Classy? Like, isn't the purpose of a sculpt to look like the actor? So if you're saying it doesn't, I would say that it's not necessarily.
Yeah, like if you don't care about whether or not it really looks exactly like it, but you just like the way it looks, it's not bad looking, but it doesn't look like. I mean, like, they did a pretty nice job on the sculpt, they just didn't do an accurate job on
The paint jobs are good. The hair sculpting is
it
nice.
just
Like
doesn't match the
objectively,
actor.
figure wise, I see what you mean.
Couldn't even get his hair right.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
not, it's not wispy enough.
Yeah, he has a little bouffant there.
That's right. Nope, that's interesting. Great discussion there. I know the rest of the panelists not huge Trek fans, so that's all good. And we'll move on because I don't want to lose too many poor people. We got lots more to talk about for sure. For me, Shaw was definitely a skip at this point. Even if Annika Hansen comes out, I don't know if I would collect him. Unfortunately, I think he's a little too new. I do like what you said though, Pete. I think if they give us the old cast of characters from Next Gen, I would consider that for sure. But I'm also really just hoping they finish the Next Gen line itself.
Well, this is
first.
the thing.
So
You don't want to start bringing those out at the expense of the versions that people really want.
Yeah, we get a Worf from Picard season 3, which they've teased. But we don't have a Worf from Next Gen yet. They've shown us Baldric, but they have Baldric is the thing he wears. Okay,
so long ago, wasn't it?
That was a while ago. Yeah, we've never seen what the sculpt will eventually look like. So it's interesting. And Tremble Dust did also bring up a good point. One last thing for him. I do feel like when they originally showed this figure, the prototype on Six Scale Mafia's channel, it did look better. I agree with that. At first, I was like, holy shit, the likeness is awesome. And now the final is, I do think, measurably lower in quality. Maybe that's just a production thing. Hard to say. But guys, let us know if you're a Trek fan out there, or maybe not a Trek fan. Maybe you're just interested in Trek. Is this a figure you would ever consider picking up? If you have not given Picard Season 3 a chance, and you're a big Next Gen fan like I am, do yourself the favor, give it a chance. You don't have to go back and watch Picard season 1 or 2. You can skip right to the third season, I think, and enjoy it pretty effectively. This popped up this week. Mustard and Ketchup Daredevil from She-Hulk Attorney at Law. And I have been extremely surprised, actually, by the community's collective dislike for this figure. I first looked at it, and it's like that feeling when you wake up in the morning and you open your cell phone and you look and like, oh, look at that, Hot Toys released something. And the first couple photos I saw, I was like, wow, I think that looks really freaking cool. Really cool. I think I am happy I pre-ordered this. And then you start seeing the community talk about, the faceplate not looking like Matt Murdock underneath the cowl there, and that the head sculpt does look pretty good, and he obviously has kind of a dead stare in his eyes, which he is blind, so I mean I can give that some forgiveness for sure. But for the most part, I'm hearing a lot of people out there say they don't really like this, that this is actually a pass. Now, I had originally pre-ordered this because I didn't have a Daredevil in my collection yet. I had missed on the original red version from Hot Toys years ago. I stupidly missed on the So-So Toys version of him with the black shirt and the black mask tied around his face. One of my favorite all-time scenes of Daredevil is in the episode 2 of the Netflix Daredevil, where he's in a hallway and he fights a group of dudes in that costume, and it is one of the coolest, most visceral fight scenes I've ever seen in a show, and it really stuck with me. So to me, honestly, my most collectible version of Daredevil right now would actually be that So-So Toys black costume version of him. But I didn't have one yet, and I've got the Punisher behind me, and I thought it might still be fun to put him in with the Punisher. But of course, we do have Daredevil Born Again coming, and we've already seen, Classy, that they're doing a new costume. I mean, it's fully red. And we like that costume, and there's a good chance that Hot Toys is going to give us that also.
Oh, they're going to make that.
So there's a really good reasoning and rationale for people saying, you know what? I can wait. I don't need this. If I don't love it, I don't need it. And that does make sense to me. But I am surprised at how much people are really not liking the figure. I thought it was pretty objectively cool. Myself, I think the Matt Murdock head sculpt looks a lot like the actor, a lot more than that last figure we just looked at. And even in the cowl, I can still see it. It looks maybe a little stunt double-y, but I can see it. Classy, what are your thoughts on Daredevil here? Because I know you're a big Daredevil fan.
Mm-hmm. I love it.
Yeah,
I do. I mean, I when I look at this, it takes me back to the original suit that I mean, for the comic books. I mean, it just kind of it brings me back to a time when I was much younger, and I really enjoy the fact that even though they're not using spandex, they're using more of this rubbery, metally type of look. I'm glad that they brought the yellow and the red together. Someone had mentioned yesterday, I think it might have been on Mafia's stream, that the original hat also was red, was yellow, red, and black. And so I think it does need I think it did need a little bit of black in it. And another thing it needs the double D's on it. He needs to have his DD on his chest. So that part I kind of am disappointed that it's not there. But other than that, I don't have a problem with this. I think this is fine. And for me, that Scarlet one, oh my gosh, when I saw that one, I was like, yes, this is going to be in my cabinet, I promise you. and what I'm going to do is that I'm going to take all of my Daredevils, my my third parties, my Hot Toys, and I'm going to have a display just of the different iterations of Daredevil. Kind of like what I do with Spider-Man. I have a different looks of Spider-Man, the different looks of Daredevil when I have them in different costumes. And this is one that I like. I like the head sculpt of Charlie Cox there. The only thing that I think is missing is that he's a little too clean shaven. He usually wears a lot of stubble, and that's the only thing. I think the clean shaven look makes him look a little bit too baby faced. As a matter of fact, when I saw the head sculpt, when I first glanced at it, I thought it was Tobey Maguire, and I said, "No, that's not
right.
Tobey."
Yeah, I see that.
It kind of has a little bit of looks to him of Tobey. And I think he needs that. I think he really needs that stubble. But other than that, I'm a fan. I love it.
Absolutely,
I already have it on order, so
yeah.
I'll be happy when he comes, and he'll definitely be with my She-Hulk. She'll be loving on him in my cabinet.
Hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah. Well said. And Shiny brings up a great thing that I wanted to add on to my take there. He says, if you like it, that's super cool. Don't worry if other people don't.
Yes.
It's cool if you still think it's cool. And I agree with that 100%. And don't get me wrong, I wasn't trying to say that the community convinced me otherwise. I was just collectively surprised that it didn't get as much love as I was about to give it. I thought it was really cool. Luis, have you ever collected something like a Daredevil or one of these other characters that you thought was really cool, but other people bashed? And what are your thoughts on Daredevil here?
I mean, I think it's one of those where, as a figure, he can stand on its own. It's one of these things where you don't know if this variant will not get a lot of good reception, and then Hot Toys won't make a big run, and it can skyrocket down the road. I'm just not a fan of how they made the more comic look colors, like the muted. It just, I can't get out of the mustard, right? But I think as a figure he looks good, just with a different scheme. And of course, if you can get the double D's in there, that would have made it maybe that much better. But I'm trying to think of a figure that I have. I guess maybe Buzz Lightyear.
Okay, yeah.
I got the deluxe Buzz Lightyear, and I'm a huge Toy Story fan. But obviously the recent movie from Buzz wasn't his ideal look that we got. But I will say, I mean, the figure's super fun. Not as well reception, because of the film, the source. But I would say that's probably the only figure that I have that didn't really get a lot of love from the source material. But just one of those things that the nostalgia in me wanted to get a Buzz, and I'm still hoping Hot Toys does a 1/1 scale classic Woody and Buzz. But until then, that's the next best thing.
Heck yeah. For me, it was actually the Endgame Loki. When that Endgame, everybody waited for that Endgame Loki for so long, so long.
Yeah.
And then it came out, and he had the one slick back hairstyle, and it you started seeing comparison photos to him and Tom Hiddleston, and it was like, it doesn't look like Loki at all. We all waited for so long to be disappointed. I ended up still buying that figure, and I love it. I honestly think it's really cool. Now, I do have his muzzle on, his handcuffs on, and holding the Tesseract, so it does hide a portion of his face, but I can definitely still see the Tom Hiddleston likeness in there, for sure. Now, Pete, I know you said in the private chat, and I'm just going to let everybody know this. In the private chat, Pete said, "You can skip me on this because I have feelings about this figure." I'm not going to tell you what feelings those are, but tell me why you think this is either the greatest or worst figure we've talked about this week, buddy. Give us your real thoughts. I want to know.
I think I said that I didn't want to talk because I didn't want to upset Thomas, but I think he's man enough to take
He's
it.
bulletproof.
I can take it, Pete. Share your feelings, brother.
Let's just make it clear. This is just a personal thing. I don't necessarily. I'm not saying that there's anything particularly wrong with the figure. I think it appears to be the usual kind of Hot Toys, decent quality. Just for me, it just represents the point at which the MCU just lost me. I mean, I watched the first episode of She-Hulk and I absolutely hated it. And I appreciate that some of you guys enjoyed it and everything. So I didn't even get to see this guy in here, and it means absolutely nothing to me. So it's just that I couldn't have any less interest in this if I tried. And I get, like there's a lot of people saying it should have the double Ds, but presuming that didn't have that in the TV show, so they've done an accurate representation of what he looked like in the show. But obviously, there are things that people would have preferred. So it's not really having a go at the figure. It's just that I couldn't be less interested in it, really. So that was all. That was my take.
That's why I wanted to call you out, though, because again, like, even though the show is called Let's Get Nuts, even though we're here having a fun time, and even though I am objectively positive about a lot of the stuff, because I build the show sheet, so I'm putting things on there that I think is cool. I like to hear when it's like, no, that not for me. Honestly, I think that is objectively like a good point or perspective to have. If this show did not connect with you, which it didn't for a lot of people, then yeah, that makes sense. This is an easy $300 save for something else that's going to represent your collection even
absolutely
more, right?
And see, I enjoyed the She-Hulk show. It wasn't the best one in the world, but I enjoyed it. I had fun with it, so I don't have as much of a adverse reaction.
That's fine
to it.
Yeah.
So some people are more averse to it because they didn't like the show, so they don't really connect with the figures. Me, even if I didn't like the show, I would still want the figures because I want a She-Hulk in my collection, and I want a Daredevil, and I kind of like the red and yellow. I wish that they had a little bit more yellow in it. That would have really made it just perfect. But also just like you, there's some people who don't connect to it and don't really like it, and that's cool too.
And I totally respect that, Thomas. That's cool. And I think for me, I've just become quite. It's either I love a show and I'll fully invest in it, or if it's okay, it's entertaining, I'll actually push that aside because there's so much content out there, and I'm not enough of a diehard Marvel fan like I know you are, Thomas, to give stuff more of a chance. I'm like, no, that's not for me. Whereas, and again with Star Wars, I'm a huge Star Wars fan, but a lot of the shows and stuff, if they don't get me, I'm quite happy to kind of just park those and say, no, not for me. Let's try something else. So yeah, it's more me just being a little bit more harsh with some of these TV spin-off shows now and going, nah, not going to waste my time on that because it doesn't connect with me. But yeah, that's just me.
Makes sense. Tremble Dust says here, I'm the opposite. I don't mind She-Hulk up until the last 5 minutes of the show. I do not want Hot Toys She-Hulk without that yelling sculpt. I was actually the same way. I didn't mind the show up until about the last episode. I didn't like the way they chose to end it. I know that there was some comic inspiration there, but like I thought it was a weird way to end it. I didn't love the ending. But Billy, in order to make this figure slightly more screen accurate, after he Hulk smashes She-Hulk there, you see him doing the walk of shame down the street in his bare feet. Do you think this figure should have come with bare feet sculpts? And is this one that you got in or coming to your collection?
That would have been classic, and you can still do that. Or you can do it with third-party feet. But you know, I respect Pete's opinion. It definitely, you know, I can see that point of view. I have a different approach, though. Regardless, the show, the movie, I invest in the character. I'm a big Daredevil fan as well. I think the Marvel street level heroes don't get enough love, and you know, this variation, it's cool and it's got its flaws, like Classy said. A little bit more yellow, the double D's. You know, Marvel, they can get creative. They can make it into like a little, you know, whatever suit that kind of shapes into two D's and doesn't have to be obvious. But I think that if with those things in there, it would have looked even better. I think because I think things would have been a little bit different if we haven't seen behind the scene and haven't heard that they're redoing the Daredevil and there's a new suit. I think it would have been a little bit different saying, yeah, I'm getting this because we don't know when we're going to get another Daredevil. But since we have a new one coming out and we've seen the suit, it looks pretty good. I think a lot of people are going to skip this. But like I said, I like this variation. I like different types of, you know, I'm a big Batman, Daredevil, Spider-Man, and any variation that looks cool, I'm all in for it. So I'm definitely getting this and definitely pairing it up with the She-Hulk too when I get it. So,
you know, that would have been an interesting 2-pack actually for this show, considering these are the only 2 figures we got. That would have been a cool, like, you know, kind of more of an exclusive style Daredevil with the She-Hulk 2-pack if it was at a reasonable price. I think that would have been a, you know, an easier nut to swallow for most people. Whereas like this Daredevil, like you just said, you can almost choose to skip because you know that there's another version on the way, and because you can buy She-Hulk separately if you want a She-Hulk in the collection. I'm still very much on the fence. She-Hulk for me is like I was saying with Black Adam earlier. I felt like I could skip it, but if she comes out probably any day now and she's amazing, oh man, my FOMO meter is going to be off the chart. Because while I didn't love the show, I think her in the collection would be really fire. So we'll see how it goes, but I can appreciate why people love it or hate it. Either way, let us know, guys, in the comments down below. If you're watching, especially on replay, is this one you're going to pick up or not? And did you decide to pick up the She-Hulk figure or not? Again, I'm expecting her to be really any day now. Last thing, Shiny mentioned we should do more chat polls. If you guys like polls, I will figure out how to make them and start adding them into the next show. 1 6-figure focus Shane once told me how to do it while I was live on stream, and instead of me stumbling and like looking like a fool because I literally don't know how to make it yet, I'll figure out off stream, and then next stream I'll implement them if you guys are interested in more of those, because they're fun to see the results.
And Ben, I have to say that you, as a Star Trek follower and fan, you can appreciate a green woman, right?
I can definitely appreciate a green woman.
We can appreciate green women.
Absolutely. So could Kirk. Let's move on, guys. And again, just a reminder, we've got 61 people watching live with us. Thank you so much for getting nuts with us on a Sunday. If you're just tuning in and you haven't been a subscriber of The Ben Thomas Show, please consider doing so. At least it's free and it gets us some support and drives some engagement to the show, as well as subscribing to all of my friends here on the panel. If you can do so after the show, I would personally really appreciate it, because they're taking their time out of their Sunday to be with me and us in this crazy nutty environment. This time traveler boy came up from Mars Toys over the past week, and I honestly think it doesn't really look anything like Michael J. Fox. And then we got an update from Mars Toys saying, yes, we hear you, we're working on it, which is actually communication that I really appreciate from Mars Toys. They have one of the best communications, in my opinion, with collectors of really any of the companies that make figures. They clearly listen to these types of shows. They clearly listen to the chats and the Facebooks and all of those things, to which I appreciate, because these things are still not cheap, even if they are deemed third party. Now, I think Mars Toys is really smart here, because we have seen some subtle hinting from Hot Toys that we may see a Back to the Future 2 Marty and Doc Brown on the way. Might. They haven't officially confirmed it yet, but I think that they would be really dumb not to do it. We've got now the DeLorean 1 with those figures reissued. We got the DeLorean Mark II, which is the DeLorean I've got in my collection. Absolutely love that car, but I can't chronologically pair my figures very easily with that one because it's from the second film, technically. Now, I have always made the argument it does show up at the end of the first film, so I can pair them, but that's a different argument maybe. And then, of course, we have already the Back to the Future 3 figures, and the DeLorean from that film is also been shown. So it makes no sense if Hot Toys doesn't give us a 2.0 of Doc and Marty from that film. Those have often been chase figures. You know, we talk a lot about don't collect backwards anymore because there's a really good chance that we're going to see these things reissued down the line. But I would be curious from you guys, is this figure at this point good enough, especially if they rework the sculpt a little bit, to get this maybe in your collection ahead of Hot Toys? Classy, I'll go to you first on these Back to the Future. And do you think Hot Toys is going to give us the Film 2 versions?
Oh, I'm sorry. I just sit in the chat. You can skip me, but I'll answer.
You can skip me, but I'll answer anyway.
Yeah.
Get Marty over here.
Yeah, I don't really think this is great the way they're looking, but the way Hot Toys is going with their 2.0s, there's no doubt they're gonna do another one, because instead of going back, for example, going back to the vault for all those figures that they announced and never made, instead of going back and pulling some of those out and delivering those to the collecting community, they rather go back and just make a 2.0. And that's more of just a cash grab for them. Now, it can be useful for new collectors who didn't have an opportunity to get them when they first were announced, but I don't know. I'd rather see a little bit. I think the collecting community would be more appreciative of Hot Toys if they would produce things that they promised us and never gave us. So while 2.0 is great if it's and there are a lot of rabid Back to the Future fans. I admit I'm not one of them. I liked Back to the Future, but I never saw 2 and 3, and it was just kind of like when I saw Back to the Future for the first one, I said, man, that was a cool movie. And then I left it alone. I really didn't need to go back and revisit it. But there's some people who really, really love it. If they get a 2.0, that's fine. This does need work. Like his eyes are a little too close together and a little too squinchy. So there is work that needs to be done on it. But it's not something I think I would be interested in.
That's fair, absolutely. And apologies, Classy, I didn't see that you.
Oh, that's all right.
In the chat
I just stuck it in.
Oh, good. Philly, I don't know if you're much of a Back to the Future fan. I'm not going to lie. Is this something that sticks out to you as something you'd consider if they upgrade the sculpt, especially? Would you wait for a Hot Toys version, or do you skip Back to the Future altogether? Oh, he's got a whole display. Maybe I didn't get to this part in this section yet. Fake fan, you'll love to see it. I didn't get this far in your collection tour, I don't think. One sec. There we go. Yeah, there it is. Beautiful car.
I just unboxed that.
Philly, you're supposed to wear pants before the show, by the way. I meant to tell you that earlier.
Yeah, I unboxed that recently. It's a magnificent piece, by the way. And
It is.
yeah, I mean, I had the original part 2, and I ended up selling it because I didn't see them making a 2.0 DeLorean because I had missed out on the first one. And sure enough, here we are. But I think it's great we have options nowadays. You know, you have third parties, and you got Mars Toys and Hot Toys. They're trying to compete with each other, and you know, Mars Toys, they've done some great work, and I don't know about this other company here, but they have some work to do, obviously, because it looks a little off. But yeah, I mean, I'm happy to have options, and right now I got the 2.0 part 1 Marty in there, and I'm content with him right there. I don't need to get a part 2, but if they do come up, if Hot Toys does come with a 2.0 part 2, both Marty and Doc, I'm all in for it. So that part 2 was the one movie that I mostly connected with because it was silly, it was wacky, you know. The year was what year was it?
2015.
2015. I'm like,
yeah,
that does not look like our future. But anyways, yeah, it same with like Terminator as well. I hate to do a side, you know, discussion, but
100%.
1997, the world was supposed to end.
Jesus.
So, but anyways, yeah, I mean,
what's that? 27 years ago now.
I know, right? But yeah, I mean, it's we have options. That's we end up winning as collectors. We get options now because they're competing with each other, and when some company slacks off, another one will pick up the slack and deliver. So, yep.
Well said. 12-inch Moose Stream also brings up an interesting thought here, and it made me think of a question for you there, guys. Mars Toys should not allow pre-orders until they totally fix the sculpts. Luis, I want to go to you first, buddy. What are your thoughts on 12-inch Moose Stream's comment there? I've seen other 6-scale companies do this, where they say, here it is, here's the pre-order window, so give us your money, but we recognize it's not perfect yet, and we're working on it. Do you like that approach, or do you think that companies should say, we're not going to ask for money until we've got this dialed in? What are your thoughts?
I don't mind it, to be honest. I mean, we see a lot of feedback now with companies like Inart that if there's a lot of backlash, then they can tweak it. We've yet to see Hot Toys' new Batman cowl with the Dark Knight Rises armory. We're still waiting on that. And even back in the day, Hot Toys would blur out some of the likenesses for the portraits. So, you know, they need money to invest in other projects. So I don't think that would ever work. Of course, we would love the prototype sculpts to be amazing. But at the same time, if they're not, then that does give an opportunity to make it better. And we can only hope that they'll listen. And then that'll show us as collectors that, hey, maybe they are trying to be on a better path, essentially, right? If they can connect and listen to feedback and improve it, then that's a win. But to hold back the pre-order because of the sculpt may not be to where we think it is, I just don't see them doing it. You know, I collect J&D as well, and they're known for not hitting the likeness 100%, maybe 90%, and for the price that they charge, it's maybe not acceptable. Right. But at the end of the day, you know what you're getting, and if you're satisfied with that, then it could either be exactly as you see it, or it could get better if there's enough negative feedback. But you know, it's rare where they go backwards, and it happens. I think the most recent maybe 73 Logan, where people think the sculpt went a little backwards. But if you were satisfied with the prototype picks, then we should at least get that.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. A really positive take on it, because, you know, initially when I see that question from 12-inch, and I've thought the same thing about Exo 6 figures before, and some of these other lines that I collect, like, why are you trying to take my money if it's not done yet? On the other hand, I agree with you. If they put it up to collector community scrutiny before they ever release the pre-order, then nothing would ever get released, because we would pick it apart to like indefinitely. Like it would, and we see it, right? We see the, you know, the guys out there who are very dialed in on what these things look like in terms of an accuracy standpoint from the film. And, you know, you keep seeing those memes of, you know, like, for example, the two Batman faces. It's like, spot the difference. And it's like, you know, to the average eye, I don't even see a difference. To some folks, it really does make a difference. But to those people, like, again, pre-orders would never get released if we just scrutinize the shit out of it forever. That Gandalf, you know, that Zach from Collecting Weekly wanted those pants prints on, if they were still going back and forth on those pants prints, he wouldn't have that lovely Gandalf in his collection. So yeah, no, that's a really good thought there, for sure. But guys, let's move on to the last topic. We've got about 3 more things that I want to chat about before the end of the day. Don't forget to go over to Pop Culture Living Room this evening at 8 p.m. I think you said it's Central Time. Double check with me on that as well, Costa, because the fun will continue in terms of live streams this evening. Batman 2.0, the Armored Batman, came up for pre-order last week. And This one caught me off guard. I talk about waking up in the morning and rolling out of bed and looking at my phone, and the only reason I even go on Facebook anymore is to talk to my mom or to look at Hot Toys pictures. And this popped up, and initially I was like excited, but also kind of like, what the hell? Is this something people have been asking for, or am I just lost? Now, for some context here, we've seen in the past a battle damaged version, which was an exclusive version. We've seen the unbattle damaged version, which was an entirely separate release, and we've seen the black chrome version, which, in my opinion, of those first three available versions, I thought the black chrome one was kind of the coolest, I'm not gonna lie. But now Hot Toys has given us the opportunity to have either another clean unbattled damaged version one, or you can get the deluxe pack that gives you both looks in the same box, as opposed to having to buy two different figures. Here's the newest one on the left, the old one on the right. The new one does have die-cast components, as well as the USB spear, which I think is definitely an upgrade if you have the ability to connect these things in your collection. I also see him standing on the chest of Superman in the 2.0 picture, just like he was in that initial picture. But it does make me wonder, are we going to see Hot Toys give us another Superman, especially in comparison to Inart, which is also now giving us that BvS Superman as well. So there's some questions here. But my thoughts, again, go back to, was this really needed? Because those original versions were pretty good. And while I do think die-cast as a material upgrade is a nice thing, for me, I equate value with weight. For some reason, if somebody hands me something that weighs a lot, I feel like it's more valuable. So anytime a figure has die casted and I'm like, ooh, it feels more premium. But when it's in your display, you really can't tell. And for me, that's highlighted by this photo. If you took all the writing away and you said which one is die cast, I'm not totally sure I could even tell you. You really can't, at least to me, can't really tell. So it feels a little gimmicky and a little more of a reason to give you a 2.0. Now, accuracy-wise, you can see from the beginning photos here, on the right-hand side, the original photo, it did have the light-up eye on the battle damage side. That wasn't technically accurate to the film. So that, I think it's a good thing that they changed it. And now that we've got the Affleck rolling eyes underneath, you can get a little more expression out of them as well. Both I think are good. I think if you're happy with the original, if you're going to say this or that, or both, I think you can probably stick with that. I think you can stick with the one that you originally had and save your money. But I want to hear from you guys. Philly, I'll go to you first. Was this one that was necessary for collectors? Or do you feel like the revisit to 2.0s is starting to get just a little bit more cumbersome than positive for the collecting community?
Well, beginning of the year, we knew this was going to come, and right now they're focusing on one of the biggest money makers is Batman. I can't wait for them to tackle on Star Wars, cross your fingers. But in regards to this, I'm the original one, the 1.0. I'm happy with that one. I even upgraded by buying a third-party sphere. I don't care for the battle damage parts. I kind of skipped the second one. I do like the black chrome version. That was a really cool one, and but that's moving on. So there is a point where a collector has a figure that's a 1.0 and it's very kind of like dated or it's fallen apart and you're desperately looking for a 2.0 or 3.0. This would be the situation. But for me, that 1.0, it looks amazing still and looks great. And I don't care for the die cast. So I'm going to pass on this one. And, but I got, like for example, the Bane from The Dark Knight, that's definitely a go because my old Bane from back in the day, it fell apart and that new Bane looks really good. So it's a big advantage towards that one. So it just depends on what kind of figure you have and where you're at, but definitely passing up on this one. I don't need it. I'm happy with my 1.0. So.
Absolutely. Well said. And apologies to community here. Pop Culture Living Room says it's not happening tonight, starting the week after Mother's Day here in the US. So stay tuned. I'm sure he'll drop some more information on his show that will be starting on Sundays. Luis, what are your thoughts on 2.0s and this figure specifically, especially when I look at your collection in the background there? You've got things ranging from statues to figures to busts to one-to-ones. Like, you got a lot of really cool stuff there. do you get frustrated by 2.0s? Is it something that for you think is worth it for the community? What's your take on 2.0s and this particular release?
Of course, you had to ask me this. This is something that Philly and I go back and forth. It's a touchy subject, controversial maybe. I am a limited edition fan collector. I love knowing that the money I'm paying, which is good money, towards a piece, plays a factor. If these companies continue to make the same thing over and over, then why am I paying so much for that particular product? If it is truly a limited edition piece. Hot Toys now more so being limited kind of time runs, the way I see it. And that's also pushed me more towards statues, because statues are limited, and the statue makers are getting better with mixed media. I'm not a big fan of sculpted pieces 100%, but the mixed media, the realistic painting, it's gotten much better. And I think that's where J&D, Queen Studios have really excelled, because we were so used to sideshow statues, Prime 1. Now you have these other makers that are making it hyper realistic, and now it's causing these companies to step up as well. So I love knowing that I've got a small pool of amazing work of art. But if they do make a 2.0, 3.0, and it's a character that I love, I also know that I'm probably going to end up getting it because it's going to be improved, and I'll probably bash the Ultimate. And that's what I'm doing. I've got the DX11 Joker. I had the Inart. I still have the Inart rooted. I one of those crazy collectors that I'm planning on getting the J&D rooted Joker as well.
I think there's
And
only
then
three of us
ultimately-
out there, you, me, and
Yeah.
Will Pucks of occasion.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, now I don't feel as bad. But
Yeah.
It's pieces of art that obviously money goes into it, in hopes that, of course, there will be more companies that will make more, and it's naive to say that they won't ever make another figure, but at least let it last years, or at least do another variant. The same statue maker makes the same character but in a different pose, and it may not be for me, that pose, it may be for someone else. But these 2.0s, 3.0s, it's great for new collectors, and that's fine. But I've separated Hot Toys more from a limited edition type company to, most likely they're going to make another version if it's a popular character, for sure. It's just a matter of when, and can you wait 3-4 years, or maybe more, for that to happen. I know people would love a Yondu 2.0. I thought after seeing Guardians 3, no spoilers, we would see that maybe. But having Yondu myself, would I take another 2.0 if it was real leather and with separate eyeball rolling system? Probably. So it's just a matter of knowing that's where the industry is. Competition will always be there. There's always going to be a better version of a figure down the road. But I am not a huge fan of the reissues because of that.
Absolutely. I think it's interesting on my channel, one of my most popular segments is the this or that videos that I make, because my whole goal with those videos is to look at what we have in our collections versus what we can now get, and decide, is it something that we can have either or both? Like, what is this incentivizing people to actually buy? And it's interesting to see very, very different comments in those videos, to see, what people want, what people, what motivates them to buy. What are the reasons collectors want to buy that upgraded version? Is there even a reason? Do you, Luis, have a figure that did get a 2.0 in your collection, but you were like, I don't need it? Because you said normally you would upgrade, but is there any that you're like, no, I'm actually happy with the one that I've got, don't need it?
Most of the ones that got the 2.0s, I like the Joker, of course. I had every version of Hot Toys Joker, and I've slowly been selling them. I am a big fan of Star-Lord from Volume 2.
Mm-hmm.
I still like that. To me, is the ideal Star-Lord look.
Good
I
one.
do plan on picking up Volume 3's head sculpt and just popping it on that one. So I do like kind of kit bashing to have the ultimate character. Like I'll probably Frankenstein all the different Jokers, right? J&D,
Hell yeah.
Inart, Hot Toys. There's little things that every company brings to the table that the other should have, but that's also incentive on Hot Toys keeping the 1.0 collectors happy, right? Look at Artisan Jack Sparrow, he doesn't have his rum bottle.
Mhm.
Well, the DX06 and the 15 have it, so we can say that we have that.
Great
And of
point.
course, I ordered the Artisan as well, but now I have the DX06 costume with the Artisan head sculpt, and to me, I think that will be my ultimate Jack, right? I
Yeah.
probably won't go for another unless the technology improves so much, but
Yeah, they could speak to you on the shelf.
exactly right. So I think Star-Lord, for me, being Volume 2, I still think is the best Star-Lord compared to Infinity War and Volume 3. But for the most part, 89 Batman, I think the first one, the DX09, is totally fine. I like the new release that they've done, but I think they went a little backwards on that. So I think if you have the 09, I think you're fine in skipping that one. But then the gargoyles, so again, they're adding little things that makes you want to upgrade or at least buy parts for it.
I think that's what's most important to me going forward, looking at 2.0s, 3.0s, 4.0s. Collector market will never stop, right? There's new collectors who are 8 years old right now who in 10 years from now will have a little money in the bank and want to buy a cool Batman. And, those people will get them probably, right? At that point, they will be 3.0s and 4.0s. But I do hope to see Hot Toys and other collectible companies giving us more in the box than what we got previously, or just different what's in the box. Doesn't even have to be more, just different. Maintain the original value. Pete, I'll go to you last because I know you got to get out of here. I know it's getting pretty late your time over in England there. Any thoughts on the 2.0 Batman here? Was this one that you envision coming into your collection? And overall, what are your thoughts on kind of the 2.0 world now?
Yeah, I did own, I think, the original version back when I had some more DC stuff, and it was a decent figure. It's obviously been revisited several times with different special versions and stuff. It's hard not to think that it's somehow connected to the Inart announcement of their Superman, although I don't suppose Hot Toys would ever admit that they're sort of a bit of a cash-in. But I think I just want to, as a sort of final thought from me, just to go back to what Thomas said earlier, that it is disappointing to see that there is this vault of figures that were teased and never went up for pre-order, and yet they're they're never ever going to come, because if they're putting all the R&D into these 2.0s, 3.0s, then it's a little bit disappointing that they've chosen to do that. But at the same time, they're a company, they need to make money, they know what sells, and we're not going to see the end of it. I think there's part of me that sometimes doesn't want to see it as much as people keep saying that the New Hope Star Wars line is going to get 2.0s. I've invested a lot of time and money in kind of putting those together and getting custom head sculpts and stuff like that. So not to say that I don't want them to do it for people that kind of didn't get them the first time round, but obviously it does kind of force your hand a bit if you're that much of a massive fan, and you need to have the best version of it. You feel a bit pressured into buying them, and obviously they're now probably twice the price in real terms that they were back then when we started collecting them 10 years ago. So there is a little part of me that sort of in a way thinks that I hope they don't start 2.0 in all the Star Wars stuff, but
I feel that.
yeah, it's a tricky one.
I I think they're going to do it. Unfortunately, I think it's something that we should brace for. I do think, again, it just goes back to don't buy backwards unless you absolutely have to. And if you do choose to ever spend the money to buy backwards, be content with that one if they come out with maybe another one, even if it's better. Because, like, why waste your money and your time? You know, there's so many other things in the world that are cool and collectible. And all of the things, right? So it does diminish the word collectible for me a little bit when 2.0s and 3.0s are considered. I will say, when I started collecting Hot Toys, I really didn't think back then when I was new to it that you'd see some of these figures ever again. I went out of my way to spend a shocking amount of money to get the DX11 Joker in my collection here in Canada, just for Inart to come out like 6 months later. Like it wasn't much time in between, you know. And that wasn't even Hot Toys; that was another company, so they have the rights to it. Then they can do it, right? So, but it still makes it hard, you know, to swallow in the collecting community. But Pete, I will show you at the door, good sir, because I know it's getting late your time. We have still 2 more topics to cover here on the show today before we wrap. But anything coming up on Collecting Weekly over on Only Fools and Collecting, we can look forward to.
Just want to say thanks to the guys for a great another great show. Really nice streaming with you guys and everybody in the chat. It's always good fun. We're not on next week, but we're on the week after. Back with OFAC, so you get our usual British take on stuff. So hopefully see you there.
It's the one show that when you're watching, like I usually watch it while I'm driving between like client appointments and stuff, and it'll be like people will be like, "Hey Ian, you know, tell me what you think about this figure here," and he'll be like, "I think it's shit, mate. I think it's just absolutely shit." You know. Well, okay then. I love it. Makes me so happy. So definitely subscribe to Collecting Weekly and definitely check out the podcast, Only Fools and Collecting division of Collecting Weekly. In there, great shows, and you guys have over 100 episodes now. I'm pretty sure, right? So you got a lot of
111. So the next one.
111.
So.
That is awesome, dude. But thank you so much for being here, Pete. Love you, buddy. Enjoy the
Cheers,
rest of your day. We'll see you on the next one.
Good brother.
Take care, Pete.
Right on, guys. Let's move on because I want to talk a little bit about Inart, and then we got to talk about Hot Toys and Star Wars before we wrap for the day. Inart has finally got some of their, I want to say, influencer batches out. There's a couple influencers out there in the world now that have their figure, and we've now had an opportunity to see some comparisons between the Inart figure and Hot Toys. And I will say there's a lot of great content to watch now with regards to whether you have made a good decision to go with Hot Toys, Inart, or both. For me, if I was looking at a this or that, I personally had decided to go with the premium version of the Inart figure, the sculpted hair. Didn't feel like I needed the artisan, or like not artisan, but the rooted hair version of that figure, because I'm most likely going to display him with the cowl on. So I didn't want to pay the extra big bucks, but I did always think that Inart version did look superior. But my FOMO meter, we've been talking about FOMO a lot today. My FOMO meter has been off the chart over the last week, Louis, because there's a local comic book store that has the Hot Toys Batman in the display window. I could go and buy it today and have this figure in my collection. I've been waiting for 2 years or 2 years plus now for Inart to get me their figure, and it still hasn't come, and I still have no view on when in the horizon it's going to show up on my doorstep. So I'm honestly getting a little impatient. But seeing the reviews this week of these two figures together, I still do think that Inart is going to take the winning trophy, at least in terms of likeness, quality of the suit, some of the stitch material, all of those things I do think look really good, but both are amazing contenders. So I was curious because I've not heard your take on the Inart versus Hot Toys version. Now that some of this material is out there and we can have a bit better of a comparison, did you decide to pull the trigger on either of these guys, and what was your reasoning for that choice?
So I enjoyed the film a lot. Philly knows that I am skipping this entirely. However, seeing the detail that they put into it in art, and I have an Inart Joker, so I feel like, yes, I can talk, a little bit about Inart. It's insane. It really is. The attention to detail, the care that they threw in everything in the kitchen sink with this release. And I think maybe that's why it took so long, right? The engineering, the metal on the arm guards. I mean, it's dumb things that we all know should be plastic, but it's not. So I thought the film was great. I thought he was a good Batman. I like the armor aspect. I can't get behind the cowl and the collar yet, and that's why I'm waiting for the sequel. I'm sure that suit will have a great evolution, but seeing this release, yeah, I'm kind of kicking myself a little, but I'm still holding back, that I made the right choice for my collection personally once the second one comes out. But no doubt to me, Inart won this one, as it should, because it is more expensive. But it's given me even that itch to buy it. I know it's sold out everywhere. I'm hoping possibly a case of the Inart Joker where it gets dumped out maybe close to retail down the road. But if it doesn't, I can live with that decision. But side by side, I mean, Hot Toys is known for the guy in the suit or the man in the suit type finish. But Inart, side by side, I mean, it just looks so good. So it's no disrespect to anybody who has the Hot Toys. I think if you can get it, especially now, I'm sure people will sell them for maybe below retail. And if you can use one, if you can swing buying the Hot Toys and pose it extreme ways and kind of do your thing or bash it, whatever, that's great. But if you can only get one, I would take the Inart for sure.
That's fair. It's interesting.
I would wait it out.
Even with Jetta's review here, because it was my first opportunity to get to see them side by side. One thing that actually bothers me about the Inart one is it looks like he's almost got bra straps when it comes to his chest piece. Now I assume that's going to be covered pretty well with the cape. The cape does look superior. I was also really surprised at how much more tanned the Hot Toys version looks, and it makes me laugh only because that movie itself starts by him monologuing about he's had 2 years of nights and he's basically become an animal, right? A nocturnal animal. Yeah, in the Inart one, he's pale as hell because he hasn't seen daylight in a while. Whereas it looks like his Bruce Wayne here on Hot Toys, it looks like maybe he hits the tanning bed a little bit. Yeah. Exactly right. But it's amazing to see these beside each other.
And Ben, everybody knows that vampires are supposed to be pale and sparkly.
Oh my god, yeah, exactly.
100%.
Classy, since we're on you, buddy, what are your thoughts now seeing some of these comparisons of Hot Toys versus Inart? Do you feel like you made a great choice with whatever direction you've decided to go in, if you're buying either of them? What are your thoughts?
Actually, I have both ordered because I wanted to have them as a comparison. I also thought to myself, well, if I get them both and I decide I like them both for whatever each of them brings, I can always let one be one that I can like, maybe the one that maybe I don't like quite as much, be the one that I can do with more the aggressive posing and stuff with. And it turns out the Hot Toys seems to be that one. Inart, I probably will keep it in more of a more museum pose, and I'm likely to use the rooted hair version, the rooted head sculpt periodically. But I really like that Inart. That is spectacular. I mean, they really do go all in on the details, and also that custom body. Robert Pattinson is a slender fella. He has a very slight frame, and Hot Toys has him a little bit too bulky. Even the Inart, but the Inart one is because you can tell that the armor is bulky, but the body is not, and so for me that's a little bit more realistic. To me, I'm also thinking that this is, aside from the comic book spandex versions with the gray tights and stuff like that, this is probably one of my favorite bat suits. And I did not think that I would like this one more, but I particularly like the cowl because you get the head movement, whereas all the other ones that have been made have been, straight up there. And you can't even move his head from side to side. And as a matter of fact, from the 89 Batman movie, he literally had to rip the plastic cowl off just to be able to take his mask off to see Selena Kyle.
That's right.
So I'm really enjoying this. and I can't wait to get mine in hand.
Absolutely. I didn't realize the cape would be such a stark difference between the characters. Jeddah had mentioned this was a very exaggerated pose in terms of the cape, but for a reason. He did say that the cape on the Hot Toys did actually stand up quite a bit better, but because it was significantly smaller, you couldn't quite get that same flow that you see the Inart one on the right here with.
Yeah.
I do think that looks so much better on the right-hand side. I gotta say, it blows me away. I did honestly think that they were closer. As I said, my FOMO has almost had me buy that Hot Toys one about 5 times in the last week, and I keep saying no, like, you don't need 2 of the same suit in your collection unless you plan to review them and maybe move one on. But even then, I'm not a reviewer. I'm not I like talking about stuff that I think is cool. You'll see reviews on my channel, but I'm not like, these guys like Jeddah's and Justin's and those guys, they've got reviews locked in. They know what's up. They've got that corner of the market cornered. I don't need to buy both figures, right? And so, Philly, what are your thoughts here now that we've had a chance to see comparisons between Inart and Hot Toys a little bit more up close? Was there one that you chose over the other previously? Have you changed your mind, or do you feel kind of good with your decision?
I'm a big Batman fan. I mean, I think Batman's up there, number 1, number 2, on my, greatest heroes, and I am a collector of everything of Batman, so I'm getting both for sure. I have the Hot Toys right now currently. The Inart, I'll probably get it very later down the year from Spec Fiction, but I think everybody's just looking at this all wrong. It's like, again, we're collectors. We won. We have 2 companies competing against each other and giving us, really good product. I mean, the variations between both of them, for any common eye, they would be like, I'm looking at the same figure. But we are collectors, so we like to be specific and, articulate things that we like and we don't like. And obviously there's variations on them, but they still look great. Both of them look great. And, whichever you choose to get, or both of them, more power for us as a collector. So I'm happy for everybody that's getting one. If you're getting both, even better. But like I said, there's been a lot of negativity lately, and it's unfortunate because everybody's taking sides and this is better, that's better. And it's like everybody has a different opinion, and it's okay to respect each other's opinions based on how you feel. So, but yeah, I'm getting both of them. I think they both have their strengths, and both of them have their weaknesses, and it's all to it.
I do think it can be hard, right? Because these are not cheap items. So whenever we've made a choice as a human being to spend quite a lot of money, let's be honest, on either side here, Hot Toys and Inart, they're both pretty pricey boys. When you make the choice to spend the money, and then somebody directly challenges your thoughts on why you spent that money, it's hard not to be defensive, right? Exactly. Like, it's just like anything. Exactly. And literally all of us are surrounded by things that we don't really need. We just really want them because they just hit us right here. You know what I mean? And like that's why I asked Luis earlier, what would he save from his collection? Shane's question, right? If the house was on fire, what would you save? Because there's so many things that are in our collections that I know to myself, I'm the type of person, and this is why I get along so well with Marco over at 16Fix. We're the same way. We justify every purchase we make to death, like to absolute death. Because when we finally choose to spend the money, we want to feel good about it. It's harder for us to make those emotional choices. So whenever you see a community of people that we all want to be part of, because we all want to talk about cool shit, when we see half the community go, well, your purchase choice doesn't make sense, you're dumb for doing that because this one is clearly better, yeah, that feels shitty, and I can understand why that makes people feel defensive. On the other hand, most people I talk to will never see my collection in person. Literally. I mean, there are 60 people watching us live. I talk to you fine gentlemen almost every single week. Nobody's ever been in my collection room. The person who enjoys it is me. So if I choose the Hot Toys or I choose the Inart, it doesn't matter what company it came from. If it's the representation of the character I like and I felt good in justifying my money spent, hell yeah. All the power to you. I am happy for you. If you feel like you made a bad choice because of somebody else's perspective, maybe you made a bad choice because you didn't feel in your own heart that it was the right choice, and maybe at that point switch. Like, hopefully you can still, but don't let other people's negativity take away from your excitement. Don't let people's, what do they say, yuck your yum. Nobody wants that shit in their life. Absolutely. Guys, well said there. Thank you for your thoughts. We have one final topic today for the 61 folks watching. Once again, please be reminded at the end of the show today to subscribe to Figurecraft, SpongeBob SquareBalls, and Pop Culture Relics on YouTube. These guys need your support and love just as much as I do, and I want to share this experience with these guys consistently and see them grow their own channels as well. It's fun and it's addictive, and it's fun to show up every week and talk about this stuff. Guys, Hot Toys has shown us some teasy photos this last week, and the weird part is that they're showing old photography. These are not new pictures that Hot Toys has been showing us. We've seen these before. A lot of these blogger photos have existed already. But it's creating a lot of questions, right? With this new power of the dark side line looming over us, it does make you wonder what we might actually see from these. Because, again, these are not new photographs. This photo I've seen before from this exact blogger, BGS Toy Art, when the Empire Strikes Back version came out. That's the Empire Strikes Back Vader. Does this mean we're going to get another Empire Strikes Back Vader? Probably not. I don't personally think so. What I'm hoping to see from the power of the dark side line are figures and characters, let's be honest, that we haven't got a chance to see yet. Even maybe ones that aren't actually teased yet. Maybe an Asajj Ventress. Maybe, like pretty much anything. I would take, if we were going to get another Vader, I would take the all-white version that we saw from that game all those years ago. Like the completely stark white Vader, because it would be different than the 3 other Vaders I'm about to have in my collection. I don't even know why I need 3 Vaders in my own collection, I'm not going to lie. But how many Vaders is too many Vaders? Let's be honest. But
never.
Guys,
never.
Yeah, never, no. But they've also shown droids, and again, that initial picture that we showed there also showed a Kylo Ren. There was some questions as to whether that was rooted hair or not. I zoomed in on the picture as much as I could see. It definitely looks sculpted to me. I don't think that it's rooted. We've seen pictures of Dooku, I should say, Count Dooku, in behind other figure releases in the last little while. I can't remember what figure that was now. Maybe you guys can remind me in the chat. But he was literally in the background, and everybody was like, "Oh my God, we're gonna get a Count Dooku 2.0," and that was already like 3 or 4 months ago, maybe even longer. And we still haven't got it yet. So I don't think we're going to necessarily see 2.0s of really any of these guys. I do think maybe we'll see a couple characters we've never got before. I would love to see a Starkiller. For me, that would be the one dark side character that I would love to have in the collection, because I loved the video games that featured that character. But I'd be curious to see what you guys think, knowing that these, again, are older photos, that they're just kind of teasing the power of the dark side. Luis, I'll go to you first. Are there any Star Wars characters, especially in maybe the dark side of the Force, that you'd be really most excited to see these guys tackle?
Having all of these figures, I would easily do another Darth Maul, of course. I actually took a picture of Kylo zoomed in that pose for Philly, and I'm like, "Now this is sculpted, But would I take a rooted Kylo? Yes, for sure. I like the sequels, and I don't want to get any hate here. I do like the sequels, but I love Star Wars and Disney more for expanding the universe. Not every decision I definitely would have made, but it was just more of the lore. But I would take a Darth Maul 2.0. I bashed my Sideshow version with a Hot Toys, pretty much from his neck on down is Hot Toys, but the head is a Sideshow. And I still think Sideshow beat Hot Toys with Darth Maul. They got the red right. So I would take a 2.0 Darth Maul. I would order another Vader. Having all the Vaders thus far, I'll take another Vader. Most of these figures, if they do it, which I don't think they will, but selfishly, I don't want them because I have them. They would probably do it with separate eyeballs, which will force me to then pull the trigger and, go against my own logic. So selfishly, I don't want them to do it. The collector in me, business-wise, they most likely will at some point with upgraded separate eyeballs, maybe a angry sculpt for the Emperor. I know Philly wants the throne, so like I said, for people that missed out or regretted selling theirs, it makes sense. And Star Wars still being, I think, the biggest IP for merchandising, they'll do it. But selfishly, I don't want them to. But I would easily take 2.0s of most of these, if not just for the head sculpts. I'll buy it parted out and ultimately bash my favorite character or version of it.
Look at the self-sacrificing man here. How can you not subscribe to this man's YouTube channel? He said he doesn't want it to happen, but he'd be okay with it. I can appreciate that. I missed the Empire on Throne. The Emperor on Throne years ago. There's been one without Throne floating around Facebook Marketplace for quite some time, and I'm like, I kind of want to get it and maybe just like get somebody to 3D print me a throne or like something. This would be one that I'm kind of holding out hope for.
Is that the one that I thought was the old lady in the background?
Yes.
Okay, now I see. He doesn't look like an old lady up close, but he did look like an old lady in the background.
Somebody pointed it out that they show on the previous
like
one, they show the
right
collar or the crease of the head sculpt. That's funny.
Right there, he looks like an old lady to me.
That's...
I mean, don't you think he looks kind of like a witch or something like that?
Well, yes. I think if you
Night
don't have the
Sister.
connection, if you don't have the connection to the original movies, Classy, I can see why that would be the case, because you get to see this character like in the films. Hopefully, this isn't spoilers for anybody, but you get to see him what he looks like before he gets all kind of messed up, and seeing the transition between the character is kind of cool. I think for sure. This would definitely be my pick for a 2.0. Danny Spotchka in the chat with us here, one of our channel members, also an awesome dude. Go check out his YouTube channel himself. He's always on with Copper Drop Boys over on Collector Joey's show. They're on Thursday nights as well. I think they missed last week. I think they said that they were going to be back this coming week. But Danny says 2.0 A New Hope Vader is the only Vader that should be made. If they make yet another Vader, make something else. Totally agree with you on that one. I could also see them doing a Vader that has all like leather accessories, right, and leather materials, because we didn't get that even with the most recent one. So
Vader likes the leather.
See them making some different stuff here for sure.
Hey, can you go back 2 slides?
2 slides. This one or
one more.
Oh, here, let's do this. Boom, this one.
Yeah, that's Luis's lightsaber in the very back, right?
Yeah.
Yes,
That's it,
yes.
man.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah, good catch. Yeah.
Very good.
You know what I actually hate most about these posts, and it's a weird thing to hate. I hate the font that they've used at the top there. It's like I want to call it gangster writing or like gothic writing, but like I find that really incredibly hard to read for some reason. I don't know why they would. Why would they market it with that? Like it makes no. It doesn't
evil.
give me.
It's an evil font.
It's an evil font. There you go. That's the reason.
Type. Yeah.
Absolutely. Philly, are you hoping for anything from the Power of the Dark Side lineup that's being teased?
Yeah, I mean, they're really teasing us heavily with this stuff and, getting us pumped up. But I have no idea. I mean, I miss out on Dooku. We'll love Dooku like everybody else. I have a Emperor, but I don't know why they gave you the option without a throne. I regret that, not getting the one with a throne.
No doubt.
Because, it's like goes hand in hand. One thing I think they were talking on Lyle's channel, 16 Scale Man, is a Ralph McQuarrie Vader. That's something different. That would be interesting. That would be different. Mm-hmm. But
Sideshow teased that some years back. They haven't done anything with it though.
I know there was a few statues, but
they were going to do figures of the concept.
Too?
Yeah, the concept McQuarrie.
Well, let somebody get us a Ralph McQuarrie version, even a Stormtrooper. That would be really nice.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, we're counting down a couple more. What was it, next week or the following week? We
the 24th.
Yeah,
the 24th is when the exhibit starts.
So
a couple days.
Forward to. I know they got some stuff they haven't showed us or kind of teased us. So something's gonna come out all of a sudden and it's gonna be like, whoa, So I know the Star Killer is one of them that they already teased. See, that would be really awesome. Ralph McQuarrie, that looks really good.
That does.
And then, but yeah, I mean, we have forgive me if I mispronounced Savage Opress or Savage Ventress, and then Savage Opress. Those two people, would be awesome. And then, yeah.
Vader's codpiece in this one is extremely small now. It's a weird thing to notice, but after seeing that Kenobi Vader recently, where he looks like he's got a huge like codpiece diaper, like, why does his dick shrink so much in the Ralph McQuarrie's version? You hate to see it. He doesn't not need nearly as much protection anymore. Yeah. No, all good, great points, and it's a good take from Lael there on this Ralph McQuarrie version, because yeah, if you're gonna go back to the well invader, give us something different. Again, I think my choice would be the all white version. And technically, he's a little bit less dark side, I think, in that representation. So maybe that's why they would.
Does he get like purified or something?
Yeah, I want to say I can't remember the exact storyline, but it basically goes back to the light side, I think. Maybe you guys can remind me in the chat. It's been a while since I've seen the story, but I just remember seeing the imagery for it, and I thought it looked pretty darn cool. But guys, that's it for today's installment of Let's Get Nuts. I want to say a quick thank you to all of our Tough Nut crew here. Elvin J, Collecting Weekly, Money Mendez, Six Scale Mafia, Katera, Feezy's Figures, King Dingaling, Sith Scale Collector, Paul Schreiber, The Batman, The Movie Canon, 1/6 Figure Focus, SpongeBob Square Balls, The _ Empire Strikes, Peter Cass, Ryan Smith, Collector Joey, Sam Gist, 14 Wellington, Jose G. Hernandez, 12-inch Moose Dream, Collection Obsession, Blur Dad Life, Danny Spotchka, Rachel Miller, Honest Hansel, Action in the Box, Figurecraft, Neilerific, Action Figure Academy, X-Men Supreme, Don Maton, Kenneth Jacobson, Cylon, and of course our newest channel member, Adrian Cervantes. Thank you so much for becoming members, guys. We now have 35 channel members, which is crazy. If you're interested in getting in with the Tough Nut crew, the link is in the chat there for you guys. Absolutely no pressure. If you just want to subscribe and watch every week, we're happy to have you guys here. Please subscribe to my friends here. Figurecraft, Philly, tell us what's coming up, good sir, on your channel, something that we can look forward to next from you, good sir.
Well, right now I just did the Sideshow quick unboxing for The Crow. The Crow is coming in its 30th year anniversary since the last the original theatrical release. So I'm trying to get something together where we can do maybe a one-time stream and talk about The Crow, because it's a very fascinating story. The story of Brendan Lee and Bruce Lee, and then also not only that, but James O'Barr, the writer and artist of The Crow. Really fascinating story, and there's a lot to that movie, and it's amazing how they were able to finish it with very little. You know, they were almost done filming and they had a lot of stuff, but hopefully you can join us, Ben. Maybe we'll see you. That's to be continued. And then currently I'm filming a kind of a showcase for Jazz Inc. dioramas. I have all their Bat vehicles, so I'm going to do a showcase video for Yost and send it to him. Hopefully he likes it, and then once I get that done, I'll share it with everybody so they can see it. And other than that, you'll catch me casually on stream. So thanks for having me, Ben. Subscribe to Classy, Luis, and Ben, and thanks for the chat. Awesome conversations, and thank you, Ben. I appreciate it.
Always, man. Always happy to have you here.
Including my buddy Luis, who's awesome, and glad to be here. Thank you.
I feel like I made a new friend today. I hope Luis feels the same way. You'll definitely see him back on the show here if he wants to come back, especially after all those butthole popcorn bucket topics earlier. I mean, it's dodgy.
That's why I'd want to come
it's
back.
Dodgy. Oh, well, there you go. There you go. That's a win. It's a win. Yomo has gifted one Ben Thomas Show membership. Thank you, Yomo. That's cool. I've never had anybody gift memberships before. I don't even really know how that works. Does it just randomly go to somebody like random in the show, or do you give it to somebody specific? That is very cool. But either way, let's give you one of these, good sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, buddy.
Christian Cooper got the membership.
Christian
so
Cooper got it.
Christian.
Hell yeah.
Okay.
Hell yeah. Congratulations, Christian. Absolutely. And I think actually I might be wrong. I think Christian asked me a question earlier about waitlists and how they work. I still think that they're a bit of a mystery. They've never really said exactly how they work, but I do think it is basically a virtual line. Basically, once something goes out of stock, you put your name on the wait list. As you progressively get closer to the edge, if stock availability comes up, you're next up on the list. You get the email that says that you can get one. If you choose not to get one, I think that it goes to the next person, but I could be wrong. What are your thoughts?
I messed up. Sorry. Just one more little plug real quick. Danny and I are doing a show soon called Multiverses, and that's another project we're working on. It's a artist to artist versus. Kind of like we picked a character and we picked from each different multiverse, and we're gonna draw them and go head to head, and we're gonna have a guest host. So we're trying something a little different, and hopefully it works out. But that's also to be continued. And hopefully, Ben, when we do guest hosts, so maybe hopefully down the line you'll be one of our guest hosts in the future. So
I would be honored to be a guest host. I've been lucky enough to be invited to so many cool people's channels. I had a really fun time with Danny not that long ago, Movie Canon, so 166 collecting, like all those guys. I mean, honestly, everybody's super fun to join in with. So if you ever get an opportunity to do so, definitely do so. Classy Thomas, SpongeBob SquareBowls. I still think you almost need to rebrand at this point, because I see most people refer to you now as Classy Thomas.
Yeah, I'm in the process. I've been working on the logo, and I don't quite have it exactly where I want it yet, but I'm working on it. Once I get my logo completed, then I will do the official rebranding. I'll start easing that in. I'll probably start with the logo first, and then I'll start gradually changing out the name so that people don't get too confused. And then whatever shows I get a chance to stream on, I'll just make the announcements there, and then I'll do an announcement video on my channel also. So yeah, I'm moving in that direction. Yeah, I think a lot of people, still do, know me, and like I said, even when I finish my rebranding, I will always be your SpongeBob SquareBall. So you can always call me that if you want to. But yeah, I do. A lot of people are kind of referring to me more as Classy Thomas, and I'm kind of like, okay, well, if that's what you like, then I will definitely move in that direction.
Hell yeah, buddy. Thank you again for coming back week over week, being such a reliable host and panelist. I definitely appreciate you. I got to give you I think hosting duties soon. I'll give you the wrench. I think that might actually really help just for everybody. But honestly, everybody really behaves in the chat, considering we talk about some pretty messed up stuff in this show. Everybody's very well behaved on Let's Get Nuts, so I appreciate that. I think I've only ever had to kick one person or put them in timeout, and then they came back pretty cool. So it's the way she goes. But buddy, I appreciate you always being here. SpongeBob SquareBowls, Classy Thomas, please go over and subscribe to him so you can kind of follow his content and what's coming over the next coming while. And you can always catch him here on Let's Get Nuts when he's willing to get up from his nap and his relaxing lifestyle of figure art and join me for sure. Now, Lewis, I know you said you go by both. I've been messing him up all night because my brother goes by Lewis, so it's hard for me, of course. All my Spanish friends out there will make fun of me if I don't say it correctly, though, of course. But of course, your YouTube channel is Pop Culture Relics. You're really just kind of getting started, but you've already got a couple subscribers there. We literally have 44 people still live in the chat. Please do me a favor, go over and click the subscribe button. It costs nothing, and it really helps everybody's channel get a little attention. Super easy. So do me that favor if you guys can.
Look at that collection. It's amazing.
Yeah. I definitely want to see more from that collection. If you do a collection tour, let's bring you back on Let's Get Nuts when it's filmed, so we can hype that up for you a little bit, buddy. Okay, but
thank you guys.
Of course, Lewis, tell us what's coming up with you just in the community on YouTube. What's your plan for your channel, and what can we expect from you next, good sir?
That's really it. I want to thank you for having me, and really appreciate taking time out to dig a little deeper. And obviously we all share similar passions, so first thing will be a collection tour. I've got all these heavy hitting pieces that I can finally want to showcase all in one video. Of course, we're always adding, but that's going to be the next video for sure. More so just having casual conversations. You know, I see my YouTube channel as more having conversations, getting feedback, you know, thoughts on a particular release, thoughts on a company, but just general conversations of a particular figure, franchise, or company, and scales, of course, because I like to have a little bit of everything. But it's an outdated picture already. I've changed the displays and do plan on making some major changes pretty soon here. But you know, just love hanging out with fellow streamers, and Philly and I are pretty close to one another physically, proximity wise. So yes, right. Things coming up, I'd say. Looking forward to Comic-Con the next few months here. D23 the month after. I'll be going to that for sure.
Nice.
So it's just trying to see what limited edition pieces are there. I know D23 hopefully will have another 1/6 limited release there, but for the most part, just trying to get my room showcased and be satisfied with that. I'm sure I'll be using Philly services there too, but that's really it, man. Just, you know, trying to keep up with what's happening out there in the market, in the industry in itself.
Absolutely. Well said. I see my connection is a little wavering, so I apologize if I'm a little on the slow side here. I got too many windows opened up here, as you guys can see. But guys, thank you so much. I see a couple of you have already subscribed. I think we were at 19 when I started looking.
That's
there.
awesome. Thank you,
already
guys.
At 25. Keep it coming.
That's
Let's get them
great.
to 100 at the very least over the next week. Usually we get somewhere between 700 to 1,000 views on the show. So anybody watching on replay, guys, help me out. Help these guys out. It's free, as I said. And honestly, all the times that I was invited to shows and people were like, go support Ben, I would have never got to where I am with this show and channel and all the live streams and all of the things if I didn't have all of those supporters previously to me and all of you guys in the chat. But of course, if you are here, you are already watching the Ben Thomas Show. So thank you so much for being here and getting nuts with us. Once again, a big shout out and thank you to the channel members there. Your support is always very, very appreciated. To my panel, of course, today, guys, you spent 2 hours and 50 minutes with me of your Sunday, and I didn't pay you to be here. So I love you guys. Thank you so much for supporting me here on the Ben Thomas Show. Thanks to all of you guys watching out there in the world. I love your faces. Of course, Classy Thomas, I think it's worthy of stating, good sir, we got nuts.
We did.
I'll catch you guys on the next one.
I'll be back.